Chapter 40-54. He had reached the finish line. Moreover, that kind of method was very powerful, beyond her understanding. Li Xiaoyao, Li Xiaoyao. She muttered to herself. She didn't expect Lin Ling's strength to have improved so much after 10 years. For others, 10 years might only allow them to improve a single method, or even make no progress. However, in Lin Ling's 10 years, he had not only improved a single method. This kind of martial artist was the most difficult to deal with. God, this is your last chance. Then, a ferocious glint appeared in her eyes. She knew that if she wanted to kill Lin Ling, this was Lin Ling's last chance before the apotheosis realm. At this moment, Lin Ling finally stepped into the clouds. What surprised him was that there was a mountain above the clouds. This mountain was full of vitality with all kinds of auspicious beasts walking around. There were dragons, cheilants, and phoenixes. Moreover, Lin Ling could see that these divine beasts were all pure-blooded divine beasts. One of the divine dragons even looked at Lin Ling. It seemed to have sensed Lin Ling's dragon god bloodline, so it nodded at Lin Ling, making Lin Ling smile back. Is Lei Gong here? Then, Lin Ling looked into the distance and strode forward. But trial challenger Lin Ling. Under the ancient green mountain, a middle-aged man in a long robe was already waiting there. He looked at Lin Ling and smiled. That's me. Lin Ling cupped his hands in greeting. He could sense that the other party's strength was unfathomable. He was probably also a trial challenger, and his level was definitely higher than his. Congratulations on becoming the heavenly voice of God, advancing from a 4-star trial taker to a 5-star. The middle-aged man also cupped his hands and said, "My name is Zhong Shan, and I'm also a trial taker. I'm currently a 6-star trial taker and have been a trial taker for 8,900 years. You are the trial taker with the fastest advancement after Lord Lei Gong." "Thank you." Lin Ling said politely, but he was also a little excited. A 5-star trial taker was also known as the heavenly voice of God. He had seen the privilege of the heavenly voice of God in the Kaiyuan River. At that time, when Sister Tsuhua came to pick him up, she only needed to show a token, and even the top 10 martial gods of the 9 regions would not dare to act rashly. By the way, where's the Chaos City Lord? He is second only to you, and has the highest chance of becoming a trial taker. The middle-aged man named Zhong Shan smiled and suddenly said, "Dead." Lin Ling pondered for a moment, but did not hide anything. Furthermore, he also felt that it was a little strange, because he had killed the Chaotic City Lord, and this cultivator called Zhong Shan should have seen it as well. Dead? This is a little troublesome. Hearing this, Zhong Shan suddenly frowned and said regretfully, "The Chaotic City Lord was valued by Lei Gong, but now he has fallen. What a pity. However, you have violated the rules of Lei Gong by killing the Chaotic City Lord. After all, the gods are merciful and don't want to kill too much. Therefore, no killing is allowed in the final world. The Chaotic City Lord is one of Lei Gong's people. If you kill his people, if Lei Gong is angry, I'm afraid he will blame you. Thank you, Senior, for your guidance, but what's done is done. Regretting it now won't change anything," Lin Ling said with a smile. Previously, the Chaotic City Lord wanted to kill Lin Ling, and this was clearly noticed by him. Although Lin Ling did not know why the Chaotic City Lord wanted to kill him, Lin Ling would not show mercy to those who wanted to kill him. "I hope that Lei Gong will show mercy." Zhong Shan sighed. Next, he led Lin Ling into the ancient mountain. Along the way, birds chirped and flowers bloomed. The surrounding plants and animals were of great origin. They were the descendants of the gods. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. It was said that during the era of gods, countless gods fell, and the ruins of the gods collapsed. There were only 4 gods left, and these 4 gods preserved all the things left behind during the era of gods. Presumably, these were the things that he saw now. Gradually, an ancient palace appeared in front of him. The palace was not luxurious, but it was a little dilapidated. However, from the totems and statues of the palace, it seemed to be left behind during the era of gods. However, after the War of the Gods, the palace looked dilapidated, as if it was a dying god. In front of the palace, there were more than 10 people standing there. They seemed to be extremely young, and they were talking and laughing. Lin Ling is coming. Although this Lin Ling has become the heavenly voice of God, he broke many rules before he became the heavenly voice of God. A man said faintly. Judging from his clothes, he was a little different from the others. He did not seem to be one of Lei Gong's men. The 2 people behind him were the same. They were wearing the same standard long robes. Their long robes were neat, and they gave off a heroic aura. He has broken the rules, but Lei Gong is currently comprehending the heaven and earth. Therefore, it's not appropriate for us to make a decision. Seeing the other party speak with a smile, a seemingly honest man smiled and said, "This is a little difficult. You may not know this, but we are here on Yoshin's orders. After all, Lin Ling killed one of Yoshin's men, so Yushin wants Lin Ling to meet him. Sigh, but now the Thunder God is comprehending heaven and earth. If the Thunder God doesn't say anything, it will be difficult for us. After all, both sides are gods, and we can't afford to offend them." Hearing this, the man said with difficulty, "Lin Ling killed one of your men?" Upon hearing his words, one of the tall women asked with knitted brows. "That's right. As you all know, killing is not allowed in the final world. As trial takers by the side of a god, we have to set an example. It's one thing for Lin Ling to kill an ordinary person, but the person he killed was a member of Yoshin's faction. Yushin has already named him." The man nodded and said slowly, "Moreover, although Lin Ling has become the heavenly voice of God, he can't kill indiscriminately. He killed the castellans of the 36 main cities, and he also killed martial god Wen Tian. Among them, the castellans of the 36 main cities are not a big deal, but martial god Wen Tian is not a small matter." This. The people beside the woman were shocked. Obviously, this was the first time they heard this news. "Sister Zhen, what do you think?" Then, many people looked at the woman. She was about 30 years old and looked very ordinary. Her temperament was also very ordinary. However, they all knew that Sister Zhen's background was not small. She was an 8-star trial taker. Sister Zhen looked back at the palace, then at the man in front of her and said, "Eugene won't harm Lin Ling, right? After all, Lin Ling is now the heavenly voice of God. Without Lei Gong's permission, we don't dare to offend him. Don't worry, Eugene is just asking casually." Chapter 40-55. Fight for what's right. Eugene, one of the 4 great gods. Although Sister Zhen and the rest were Lei Gong's people, the 4 great gods had a good relationship with each other. Therefore, if they did not hand Eugene over, Lei Gong might reprimand them. Since that's the case, fine. Sister Na Zhen thought of this, so she finally nodded and agreed. While they were talking, Zhong Shan had already arrived with Lin Ling in tow. Both of them had overheard everyone's conversation. "Lin Ling, you even killed martial god Wen Tian? Heavens, you killed the chaotic city lord. That's no small matter. Now, you've even killed the people of other gods." Zhong Shan was shocked and looked at Lin Ling in disbelief. Challengers like them often did missions outside, so they did not pay much attention to what happened in the 9 states. Especially after becoming heavenly voice of God, they only had one goal, and that was the world's will. Therefore, they were not very clear about Lin Ling's situation. Hearing Zhong Shan's shout, Sister Zhen and the others had a change in expression and frowned. "You're Lin Ling? Good, you're really lawless. You've even brought the wildness of the 9 prefectures into the world of gods. However, we'll deal with the matter of the primal chaos city leader later. Lord Thunder God will punish you. You'll go with them to see Yushan now. The girl called Sister Zhen immediately reprimanded. Hearing this, Lin Ling frowned. Yojin's people? He vaguely felt that something was wrong. I'm here to see Lei Gong. Before I see Lei Gong, I won't go anywhere. Lin Ling shook his head inwardly and said plainly. He did not know who Eugene was, but he had a feeling that if he left with Eugene, he would be in danger. After all, although he was quite strong in the final world, he was still much weaker than the challengers. How dare you? You've just become the heavenly voice of God. No, you're not considered the heavenly voice of God yet. After hearing Sister Zhen's words, you actually didn't do as she said. Seeing Lin Ling refuse, one of them immediately frowned and said. Looking at Sister Zhen again, her face was also somewhat unhappy. Of course, the others didn't say anything. Their eyes continued to flicker. I want to ask, in Lei Gong's place, does a trial taker have the right to order others around just because they have a high status? Lin Ling's face was still calm as he said lightly. That's not true. We're all Lei Gong's trial takers. Our goal is to protect the void, so no one has a higher authority than anyone else. Zhong Shan, who was next to him, said immediately. However, he changed the topic and said, however, Sister Zhen's seniority is considered the highest among us. What she said is not wrong. That's right. Lei Gong is currently comprehending the void. Otherwise, Lord Lei Gong would be the one to speak. The others nodded in agreement. Since you have no right to order me around, why should I listen to you? Lin Ling shook his head and said. You. Sister Zhen and the others were furious. This Lin Ling was a newcomer, but he didn't know the rules at all. Lin Ling, you have to know that this is Yojine's order. Sister Zhen finally took a step forward and said. I'm also one of Lei Gong's people. What right does Eugene have to order one of Lei Gong's people around? Lin Ling looked at her indifferently. He wasn't afraid at all. However, he could guess that this so-called Eugene must be one of the 4 great gods. Otherwise, these trial takers wouldn't have given her face. Lord Lei Gong is the most law-abiding. If he knew about this, he would definitely send you to see Eugene. After all, murder is an indelible crime. Sister Zhen's voice started to turn cold. She had no enmity with Lin Ling, but she didn't like Lin Ling's unruly attitude. Lord Lei Gong is indeed law-abiding, and the rules are that you have no right to order me around. If Lord Lei Gong knows that you've overstepped your authority, I'm sure he won't let you off. Lin Ling sneered. This time, Sister Zhen's face turned even uglier. This was because Yojine's trial takers were watching from the side. If she couldn't even discipline a newcomer, others would laugh at her. Sister Zhen, forget it. Seeing how tense the situation was, Lei Gong's trial takers tried to persuade her. Lin Ling, just apologize. Go back with Yojine's people. It's not a big deal. Zhong Shan said to Lin Ling. However, Sister Zhen and Lin Ling had no intention of backing down. You said that I killed someone, but in Heaven Pass City, it was that Castellan Xiao who wanted to kill me first. Since he attacked me, how can I allow myself to be trampled on? Lin Ling said again. At that time, you weren't heavenly voice of God, you were just a trial taker. You didn't have the qualifications to kill him. Sister Zhen said domineeringly. Lin Ling laughed, although I'm not heavenly voice of God, I have the Snow Wind Academy Supreme Token. Seeing the token is the same as seeing the principal. A main city's Castellan wanted to kill the principal, can't the principal retaliate? Moreover, a trial taker's status isn't so low that others can step on his head as they wish. Lin Ling's words were reasonable, and Sister Zhen couldn't refute him. But, the Chaos City Lord's matter. However, Zhongshan suddenly spoke up. The Chaos City Lord isn't even a trial taker, and he's Lei Gong's man. This is already a violation of the rules, so he deserves it. Lin Ling said again. Alright, you can say what you said before, but what about Wentian Martial God? His status is higher than yours, what do you say? Sister Zhen suddenly looked at Lin Ling, and her expression became sharp. She obviously didn't expect this Lin Ling to be so arrogant. The more he spoke, the more imposing he became, making it difficult for her to step down. May I ask, in the end, is it the world or the entire 9 prefectures that can't kill people? Lin Ling wasn't afraid and asked back. Everyone fell silent, faintly feeling that what Lin Ling was going to say next wasn't simple. Seeing everyone fall silent, Lin Ling said again, I killed Wentian Martial God in the Void Passage. If it's not allowed to kill people there, then countless people in the 9 prefectures are guilty. The last sentence caused the palace to fall into silence. Sister Zhen's expression was ugly. The other trial takers had complicated expressions. No matter how they looked at it, Lin Ling was reasonable. However, Lin Ling didn't do well in one area, and that was not giving them face. Therefore, the trial takers felt that Sister Zhen wouldn't let this matter rest. After all, she also wanted face. This. Lin Ling, you'd better not say anything. Zhong Shan's expression suddenly became awkward as he advised Lin Ling, my personality is like this. If you are right, I will apologize. If you are unreasonable, I will even dare to say it in front of Lord Lei Gong. Lin Ling looked at Zhongshan and said word by word, this is my principle. The palace fell silent, and no one spoke. Sigh, we are also here under orders. Although you are right, you should say this to Eugene. If you make things difficult for us, we will also be in a difficult position. Chapter 40-56. Forcefully attacking. This person looked apologetic, but his words had undoubtedly aroused the arrogance in Sister Zhen's heart. Because in front of a newbie like Lin Ling, her real sister was also reprimanded by Lin Ling. How could she take this lying down? Don't worry, since I've promised Eugene, I'll definitely send her over. Sister Zhen took a step forward and unleashed her divine energy. She looked at Lin Ling and said, Lin Ling, I'm sorry to offend you. Even if Lord Lei Gong was here, he would do the same and demand an explanation from Eugene. Moreover, Lord Lei Gong doesn't want his relationship with Eugene to be affected because of a mere participant like you. I can understand if you don't want to go now, but sometimes, rules are rules. As soon as she finished speaking, she attacked Lin Ling as well. Terrifying realm energy and divine energy covered the heavens and the earth as they gushed out. The world essence and divine force directly made heaven and earth change color, extremely ferocious. His power of divinity had probably reached over 20 strands. As for talent, Lin Ling also sensed that this woman also had a divine fetus body, and it seemed to be of a higher level than his human monarch flame. Sister Zhen. Seeing this, the other trial takers immediately shouted anxiously. Don't worry. If anything happens, I will take responsibility. Moreover, Lin Ling is still the heavenly voice of God. I will ensure his safety. Big Sister Najin waved her hand and said with a look of responsibility. But Lin Ling cursed in his heart. This stupid woman. Although he did not know why Eugene was looking for him, he guessed that it had something to do with Luli Empress. It seemed like Eugene was asking Lin Ling to explain himself, but in reality, it would be difficult for him to return. At that time, even if Lei Gong appeared, Lin Ling would be dead. Would Lei Gong fall out with Eugene because of him? He, Lin Ling, knew his limits. He knew that this was impossible. Sister Zhen, you keep talking about the rules, but from the looks of it, you're the one who broke the rules by touching Lei Gong. Lin Ling mobilized all the strength in his body, fused with his talent, and resisted with all his strength. However, he was still suppressed to the point that his entire body trembled. The other party's strength was too strong. No matter which domain it was, they all surpassed Lin Ling. Lin Ling even realized that under Sister Zhen's immense power of divinity, it was difficult for him to use the step of wisdom. Moreover, this was still Sister Zhen not erupting with the might of her divine embryo, only relying on her realm essence and divine power. Don't worry, Sister Zhen will take responsibility for her own actions. I still think that even if Lei Gong finds out, he won't blame me. Elder Sister Zhen said sternly with a ferocious look on her face. She wanted to suppress Lin Ling and personally send him out. Rumble. Wind and clouds began to roll in the sky as if the gods were enraged. In fact, as a trial taker, especially those who had reached the level of God's heavenly voice, were all half-step gods. Their strength was not much weaker than the top 10 martial gods of 9 regions. Looking at the multicolored clouds in the sky, at this moment, there was also a huge vortex, which made all the people outside Snow City suck in a breath of cold air. In their eyes, the sky was like the sky was angry, and the terrible majesty was continuing to erupt. However, didn't Lin Ling go to meet the gods? How did he trigger such a fluctuation? Only Luli Empress stood in the sky in the distance with a sneer on her face. She naturally guessed what had happened. Because, this was something she had personally asked Eugene for help. This was also the last chess piece she had placed on Lin Ling. Lin Ling thought that as long as he could meet the gods, he would have nothing to worry about. He didn't know that in the world of the gods, Luli Empress also had a certain right to speak. And Lin Ling was just a trial taker who had just advanced. His words were insignificant, and no one would give him face at all. She estimated that the current Lin Ling would be taken away, and if he was taken to Eugene, then Lin Ling's life and death would no longer be in his control. At that time, even if she killed Lin Ling, it could be said that Lin Ling had resisted tenaciously and was killed by mistake. If Lei Gong knew about it, even if he was angry and blamed them, he wouldn't touch them easily. Rumble. At this moment, there was a golden flame roaring in the sky. This was obviously Lin Ling's divine embryo body fighting against Sister Zhen. However, he still couldn't stop Sister Zhen's means. Then, white electric snakes appeared and lingered in the sky, as if a thunder tribulation was descending. Moreover, under Sister Zhen's enormous divine power, Lin Ling had also pushed all his strength to the limit, causing the white thunder to be extremely crazy. Thunder was originally fierce, and the more it was suppressed, the more violent it was. Pa pa pa. The sound of electric arcs exploding could be heard, spreading to the ground. Anyone who was weak would be instantly electrocuted by the sudden explosion of voltage. But soon, the thunder was also sucked in by a huge vortex, and couldn't resist Sister Zhen at all. However, at this moment, in the distant void, an old man's expression changed, and he laughed in shock. It's appeared again, old friend Leija's talent. He sensed and immediately flew in the direction of the final world. He was naturally treasure god Nan Wu Fengyu. Of course, the same thing was happening in the huge palace. At this moment, an old man was sitting cross-legged in the palace. His long hair was like thunder, and he held a black ball of light in his hand. The ball of light was fierce, and it was constantly resisting the old man's power. And this black ball of light was the world's consciousness. Obviously, this old man was investigating the movements of the world's consciousness. But at this moment, his pupils trembled violently, and he said in shock, "The body of Leija, the body of Leija from 10 years ago?" Then, he laughed, and he laughed with incomparable excitement. Because 10 years ago, the body of Leija appeared once, and then disappeared without a trace. When he wanted to look for it, he couldn't find it at all in the vast void. This made him feel extremely regretful. And the body of Leija that appeared 10 years ago was obviously when Lin Ling was fighting Longyang. Because the body of Lei Zhe was the best body of divine embryo to inherit his Lei Gong's legacy. And for so many years, he had taught many thunder geniuses, but compared to the body of Lei Zhe, they were obviously much worse. He knew that the body of Lei Zhe was the talent of the Lei Zhe god from the era of gods, but that expert had fallen. It's finally appeared. The old man put away the world's consciousness in his hand, and then he was shocked. It seems that it's very close to here. He sensed it, and his expression changed drastically. Because he also sensed what was happening outside. The person with the body of Lei Zhe was in his immortal realm, and it seemed to be his trial challenger. Isn't that Lin Ling? Lin Ling has the body of Lei Zhe? God, why didn't I know? You have to know that when I thought highly of him, he didn't have the body of Lei Zhe. When did he have the body of Lei Zhe? Then, the old man's beard blew up, and he was obviously very surprised. Chapter 40-57. Drive and Turn. He was taken away. It's Yojin's people. What the hell are they doing? Stealing my trial taker? Eugene, are you trying to snatch him from me? No way. After investigating for a while, he madly rushed out of the main hall, smashing through the stone door of the main hall. Then, he rushed out. At this moment, outside, Lin Ling was already wrapped up by a storm. All of his power was sealed within, causing him to only be able to stare coldly at Sister Zhen. Sister Zhen clasped her hands behind her back and said calmly, Lin Ling, I'm sorry for offending you. Don't worry, follow them to Eugene. You just need to explain yourself. Eugene won't do anything to you. Touch your ass. Lin Ling couldn't help but curse. Sister Zhen was too naive. If Lin Ling were to go, he would most likely die. Unfortunately, Sister Yuzhen was unable to explain herself. This stubborn woman had mistaken herself for Lei Gong and thought that everything she did was right. Thank you, Sister Zhen. Don't worry, we will send him back. The Eugene trial taker cupped his hands and smiled. As expected of Sister Zhen, a 7-star trial taker under Lei Gong. You're the only one who can solve a problem that no one else can. Another person said flatteringly. However, this flattery made Sister Zhen very happy. She modestly said, You're too kind. We 4 gods are a family. It's normal for us to help each other. Then we will take our leave. After all, Eugene has been waiting for a long time. Those people bowed again, then left with Lin Ling. A strange talisman appeared in the hand of the leader. After tearing it, mysterious words appeared in the sky. Then, he slapped it toward Lin Ling. However, there was still an indestructible storm around Lin Ling. When the divine talismans arrived, he immediately felt his body lighten. Then, he was carried away by the leader. This made Lin Ling extremely anxious. He never thought that he would encounter such an accident when he came to see Lei Gong. Unfortunately, he couldn't resist at the moment and could only let the other party take him away. However, right at this moment, a terrifying and tyrannical lightning descended. A majestic old man with long hair and a loose robe stood in front of the few men, blocking their path. Moreover, he was looking at the group of men with a dignified expression. You're courting death. With their path suddenly blocked, one of them immediately cursed angrily. That was because they were so close to completing the mission. They were very happy, but who knew that someone would dare to interfere? Do you believe us? However, when he saw the old man in front of him clearly, his pupils constricted and his face turned pale. Then, he stuttered, Lei Gong. Believe what or not? The old man had his hands behind his back and spoke in a dignified manner. This is a misunderstanding, Lord Lei Gong. It's a misunderstanding. That person hurriedly slapped himself a few times until his teeth fell out. However, he continued to smile. That was because he knew that this was one of the four great gods, Lei Gong. Even if Eugene was here, she would have to show some respect to this hot-tempered thunder god, let alone a mere trial-taker like him. Lord Lei Gong. When the other trial-takers saw Lei Gong, their expressions changed and they all bowed. What happened? Lei Gong ignored the crowd and spoke coldly. Lord Lei Gong, it's like this. Sister Zhen, who was still standing in front of the palace, hurriedly explained what had happened and Eugene's motive. Moreover, as she spoke, she thought that with Eugene's status, Lord Lei Gong would show her some respect. What? When Lei Gong heard those words, he was stunned. He had thought that these people from Eugene were here to snatch people from him. Who knew that they were here to capture people and convict them? Capture people who had inherited the thunder inheritance and convict them? He had waited for so long and finally met a person with the divine thunder body. Now, they wanted to capture him and convict him? This is the truth. Not only did Lin Ling kill City Lord Xiao, he also killed martial god Wen Tian. When Sister Zhen saw Lei Gong's shocked expression, she naturally interpreted it as Lord Lei Gong's dissatisfaction with Lin Ling and the chaotic city lord. At the side, Zhong Shan also stammered. That's why Eugene wanted him, so we sent him over. However, I think Lord Lei Gong should, Sister Zhen said with a smile. However, before she could finish her sentence, a thunderstorm surged out. Bang bang bang. All the challengers, including Sister Zhen, were smashed into the walls of the palace. They even spat out mouthfuls of blood. When they slid down from the walls, they were all dumbfounded. As for those who caught Lin Ling, they were in even more trouble. They were too close to Lei Gong and were directly struck by the powerful electric arcs. Their bodies were twitching non-stop. This was before Lei Gong made his move. If he made his move, they would have been electrocuted into ashes. Only Lin Ling was unharmed. The thunderstorm still surrounded his body. However, Lei Gong strode forward and broke the storm himself. He then looked at Lin Ling with a smile and said, "Are you all right?" This action undoubtedly shocked Sister Zhen and the others who were far away. This was because Lord Lei Gong had personally rescued Lin Ling. Brother Zhong Shan, am I dreaming? Why don't you try and kick me? I can kick you 10 times. Some of the challengers were even talking incoherently. This was because they were too familiar with Lei Gong. Lei Gong was a god left behind from the era of gods. For thousands of years, he had seen through life and death. He had comprehended the mysteries of the universe. In this world, there were very few people who could move his heart. Even for them, Lei Gong's attitude towards them was very cold and dignified. This made them realize that these seniors who had lived for countless years, the only people who could move their hearts were those left behind from the era of gods. But now, Lei Gong was actually so doting towards a junior who had just become the heavenly voice of gods. Does it hurt? Are you tired? Do you want to take a rest? In fact, Lei Gong was indeed very doting towards Lin Ling. It was too much. Lin Ling knew many seniors in his life. For example, his teacher Xing Shiyun of Jiezhou. Although they also cared about Lin Ling, they definitely did not dote on him to this extent. This made Lin Ling a little dumbfounded. Did he hurt you? Don't worry, I will teach them a lesson. Seeing that Lin Ling did not speak, Lei Gong immediately looked at Sister Zhen and the others. His face was instantly filled with anger. His hair fluttered as if he was the wrath of the thunder god. Lord Lei Gong. Seeing this scene, Sister Zhen and the others immediately knelt down on one knee. Their bodies were also trembling. It has nothing to do with them. However, at this time, Lin Ling also spoke. Chapter 40-58. An explanation. Lord Lei Gong, my name is Lin Ling, and I am one of the challengers. My guardian is the old woman from Snow-Blowing City. Lin Ling felt the need to clarify some things so that Lei Gong wouldn't misunderstand. I know. You are the one who grows the fastest among my 10 trial takers. Lei Gong lowered his head and looked at Lin Ling. The anger on his face instantly disappeared and was replaced by a smile. That kind and amiable smile undoubtedly made Sister Zhen and Zhong Shan extremely jealous. You don't have to say anything. I understand. However, Lei Gong did not explain anything. His amiable smile turned into a mysterious smile. This also made Lin Ling blink continuously, even more confused. Lei Gong looked at the people from Eugene and asked calmly, "Why did you take my people away?" Lord Lei Gong, it was Eugene who asked for it. As trial takers, we can only listen to her orders. Those men were so scared that they trembled and immediately knelt down and said, "Eugene?" Upon hearing this, Lei Gong's eyes flashed. Then, he looked at the distant sky and pointed his finger. "Eugene, come and see me." It was a simple sentence, but it carried a domineering aura. With a point of his finger, a bolt of lightning shot out and tore through the sky, creating a huge void passage in the sky. Soon, a woman appeared in the void passage and walked out with light steps. This woman was dressed in a long black muslin dress. Her feet were bare, and her face was covered with a black veil. As for her hairstyle, it was the classic hairstyle of a goddess. She looked extremely mysterious. Her steps did not seem to be fast, but in the blink of an eye, she appeared in front of Lei Gong. The cold and elegant eyes under the black veil indifferently glanced at Lin Ling, then landed on Lei Gong. Lord Eugene. Looking at this mysterious woman, all the trial challengers knelt down on one knee and bowed. One must know that although the relationship between the four gods wasn't very deep, they were still allies and friends. Therefore, when the trial takers of each side met the gods of the other side, they would be extremely respectful. The reason for this was because the four of them were the only four gods left from the era of gods. Therefore, all grudges and enmity had long since vanished into thin air under the long river of history. What remained was the appreciation between each other. Lin Ling also looked at the black-dressed woman in shock. When this woman had glanced at him, he discovered that all his secrets had been seen through. Perhaps, only the primal chaos divine formula and the steps of wisdom had not been seen through. However, Lin Ling was sure that Eugene must have noticed that he had 6 stanchions. "Eugene, did you send people to capture my trial taker?" Lei Gong looked at Eugene and said. Eugene's cold eyes flickered slightly as if she was very surprised. This was because, generally speaking, Lei Gong would not let Eugene come personally for such a small matter. It could even be said that everyone below the gods were ants. No matter who the trial takers were, they were all ants to them. The most precious thing was the friendship between the four gods. Eugene nodded and didn't say anything else. "Then let me tell you, you can touch anyone but Lin Ling," Lei Gong shouted in a low voice. Eugene's eyes flickered again as if she had understood something. "Outside Blizzard City, those who tried to stop him will all die." After saying this, she turned around and left. This was also her explanation to Lei Gong. All of them would die. This meant that those who tried to stop Lin Ling would all be killed by the gods. Although killing was not allowed in the final world, it depended on who it was. For the gods, these rules naturally did not exist. Looking at Eugene's cold departure, Lei Gong was stunned. He was still angry at first, but he didn't expect Eugene to be so ruthless. In order to give him an explanation, she actually turned around and killed tens of thousands of people. Most importantly, those people were martial gods that were hard to come by. After so many years, this woman is still so ruthless, Lei Gong said to himself. At this point, his anger had dissipated by half. In this way, he could give Lin Ling an explanation. Then, he smiled at Lin Ling and personally led Lin Ling to the palace. "You guys, follow me." "Of course," he said coldly to Sister Zhen and the others. Sister Zhen and the others turned pale. They knew they were in trouble. Especially Sister Zhen, she gritted her teeth. She didn't understand why Lei Gong was so nice to Lin Ling. After all, Lin Ling was only a 5-star trial taker, while she was a 7-star trial taker. Shouldn't she be treated better than Lin Ling? At this moment, outside Snow City, the people were still looking at the sky. However, they saw that the pressure from before had completely disappeared. Even the 5-colored clouds were rolling and converging toward the sky, gradually disappearing without a trace. What happened? This undoubtedly made the people even more suspicious. However, at this moment, the fatal danger finally arrived. Suddenly, countless black petals scattered from the sky. It was extremely beautiful. Those petals scattered from the sky and spun like a top, gradually spreading across the entire world. Oh no! Suddenly, in the distant sky, Luli Empress's expression changed. She then issued an order. Then, she didn't dare to stay and immediately left the place. Those who received Empress-colored Glaze's message had a drastic change in expression at this moment. Then, they all started to flee in all directions. However, there weren't many people who received the message. Almost at the same time, the fatal danger arrived. Those pitch-black petals began to shoot out, landing on the new heavenly court, the Duan family, and even Luli Empress's people. They directly penetrated their bodies, causing them to turn into darkness and disappear among the petals. In the blink of an eye, over 1,000 experts died. Moreover, this massacre continued. One must know that these were all experts in the martial god realm. The people of the God Slayer Alliance were also standing outside Snow City. At this moment, they were scared out of their wits and wanted to escape immediately. However, just as they moved, they were shocked to find that those petals didn't pay any attention to them. Some of the fatal petals even flew past them, as if the scythe of death had passed through their heads. However, the truth was that those petals didn't touch them. This made them tremble in the sky, their faces incomparably pale. The ones who died are those who blocked the great leader. The 9th god I finally reacted and said solemnly. "It's Lin Ling." The leader of the Tiandi League, Wuxia, stood there holding a long spear. However, his hands were also trembling slightly. He wasn't pitying those people. Instead, he was shocked by the methods of a god. Killing martial gods was like killing ants. One must know that those who died were all martial gods. In the 9 prefectures, each of them was an existence that was hard to come by in tens of millions of years. If not for someone's summons, these experts wouldn't have appeared here. However, now, they were all dead. They didn't even have the strength to resist. Cold sweat quietly flowed down Wuxia forehead. Chapter 40-59. Because of Lin Ling. Run. Looking at the experts of the new heavenly court, they wished that their parents had given them an extra pair of legs. They burst forth with deadly speed and fled in all directions. However, even though they were fast, the black petals weren't slow either. Some people fled to Yen State, but the petals still caught up with them and killed them. Some people escaped into the void, but they still couldn't escape death in the next round. Only those who entered the forbidden area were lucky enough to survive. However, the forbidden area was far away from here. Unless one had a life-saving divine ability, who could arrive at the forbidden area in the blink of an eye? It's Lin Ling. Of course, those who were running for their lives also reacted. This was because Lin Ling was the only one who could possibly make a god kill them. This made them extremely regretful. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have come today. They had come here today because they were absolutely confident that Lin Ling would definitely fail. Moreover, even if Lin Ling succeeded in reaching the seeing divinity stage, he would only succeed in preserving his life. However, they never would have thought that Lin Ling actually had the qualifications to make a god take action for him. I regret it. I shouldn't have come. Old man, old man. Ah, don't kill me. Gradually, the only thing left in the sky and on the earth were endless cries of pain and anguish. All the experts gradually disappeared. There was no blood, only darkness. This also made the people of the snow-blowing city scared out of their wits. Such a massacre was too terrifying. A sentence also rose in their hearts: those below the gods are all ants. In other words, only by becoming a god would one be able to gain some respect. If one was merely an Einherjar, the gods would be able to kill them at will. Senior sister, did Lin Ling ask Lei Gong for help? In Snow Wind City, Zhangqiri looked at the great sun annihilation tribulation. The corners of his mouth were trembling as he said nervously. After all, this was the first time such a terrifying calamity had erupted in the final world for so many years. However, the old lady shook her head. It shouldn't be Lin Ling. From the looks of it, this isn't Lei Gong's doing. However, I'm afraid that Lin Ling can't escape from this. Zhangqiri was even more terrified now. The thousands of questions in his mind finally came to a conclusion: Lin Ling had risen. In this battle, either Lin Ling dies or they die. The winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. Lin Ling won, so they must die. Perhaps from the beginning to the end, this was only a game of God. The old woman suddenly said. Zhangqiri pondered for a moment and then nodded. This was indeed the case. If Lin Ling lost, then he would undoubtedly die. And if Lin Ling died, then the tens of thousands of people in the God Slayer Alliance would also be annihilated. This was unavoidable. But fortunately, Lin Ling won. Empress, how could this be? At this moment, in the void, several figures turned into streamers and rushed toward One World Mountain. Their speed was extremely fast, reaching the speed of 8,000 realms. The woman leading them was as cold as ice. She did not say a word. She was Luli Empress. Obviously, she was also very confused by this sudden scene. According to her plan, Lin Ling should have been taken away. However, the result was that all of them were going to be killed. Most importantly, she knew that the person who did this was Eugene, because those black petals were a symbol. How could anyone understand the fact that their superior was trying to kill their own people? Moreover, seeing the forces that she had spent so much effort to cultivate being destroyed, her heart was bleeding. Because in order to cultivate these powerful experts, she had spent a lot of effort and treasures. Most importantly, the new heavenly court that her father and brother had left behind was about to be annihilated. This was even more humiliating for her. It's too late. At this moment, Luli Empress finally stopped, then looked at the old woman behind her and said. The old woman's body trembled, but she knew what Luli Empress meant, so she took out her fishing rod. Her essence blood flowed along the fishing rod, forming a blood pool in the void. After the blood pool formed, a mysterious melody spread out. The old woman's body had turned gray. Under the gentle wind of the void, she scattered like ashes. I will avenge you. The Glaze Empress said coldly. Then, she took a step forward, entered the blood pool, and disappeared. Seeing this, all the experts behind her did the same. Martial God Duan Mai gritted his teeth. He knew that the Duan family was going to bleed this time, so he also entered the blood pool. The blood pool was connected to One World Mountain on the other side. If they did not enter One World Mountain through this sacrificial method, they would definitely be caught by those black petals. Sure enough, as soon as they disappeared, petals floated in the void, but they did not catch them in the end. Then, they floated casually in the void. In One World Mountain, a large number of figures appeared. They looked at the blood pool in the sky, and all of them felt like they had just survived a disaster. Then, they all looked at Luli Empress. However, a mirror appeared in Luli Empress's hand, and she calmly put on makeup in front of the mirror. Seeing this, the people became even more anxious, but they did not dare to ask. They only had one thing in their hearts: so many people have died, and the Empress is still in the mood to put on makeup? 3 days later, we will have escaped this disaster. The gods will not kill us anymore. However, this silence did not last long. Luli Empress finally spoke, and her words made the people feel relieved. If the gods insisted on killing them, they knew that it was useless no matter where they ran. It was Lin Ling, and the one who killed us was Eugene. Luli Empress said again. What? Lei Gong did not kill us, but Eugene did? What is going on? Could it be that Lin Ling has become one of Eugene's men? I heard that Lady Eugene is a goddess. Could it be that she has taken a liking to Lin Ling? This is too strange. Luli Empress, say something. Why did this happen? The people were shocked and could not believe it. Luli Empress was still looking at the mirror, quietly putting on her eyebrows. However, she also smiled faintly. This smile could make the sun and moon dim, and the flowers dim in comparison. I also want to know why this happened. It was obvious that she was also very confused as to why this happened. Moreover, she was very angry. Of course, even Lin Ling himself was confused. At this moment, he appeared in the palace with an innocent look on his face. However, he could clearly think of the massacre outside Snow City. He was afraid that 90% of the martial god realm experts would die there. After Lin Ling thought about this carefully, he was also shocked. However, he did not feel any psychological pressure because the murderers of those people were gods. Moreover, Lin Ling was not the one who suggested to kill those people. Chapter 40-60. Punishment. The palace was very dilapidated, and an ancient wind pervaded the surroundings. Moreover, there was nothing here, and even the ground was spotless. However, Lin Ling could still sense a sense of sorrow in the palace. It was as if the era of the gods was glorious and prosperous, but after so many years, there were only a few gods left. There was a desolation of things remaining the same, but people had changed. All of your trial missions will be reduced by 2 stars. At this moment, Lei Gong's deep voice finally floated out of his mouth. Lord Lei Gong. As soon as he said that, Zhong Shan, Sister Zhen and the others' faces all changed. They had already thought about how Lei Gong would punish them. They were even willing to accept any punishment, but they never thought that it would actually be a star drop. To them, this was even harder to accept than death. This was because as long as one could become a 10-star trial taker, they would be able to take over the position of a god and become the next Lei Gong. Currently, they were very close to becoming a 10-star trial taker. If their stars were downgraded, they would have to work hard for at least 1,000,000 years. This also meant that their efforts over the past 10,000 years had all been for naught. Why? Sister Na Zhen gritted her teeth and looked up at Lei Gong. Humph. However, Lei Gong coldly snorted, causing Sister Zhen to feel a sweetness in her throat. A mouthful of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. After that, Sister Zhen no longer dared to speak. Lord Lei Gong, they just don't want to offend Eugene, so this matter has nothing to do with them. At this time, Lin Ling pleaded for them. After all, Lin Ling had been in the final world for a long time. However, he had only completed 4-star missions. There were even 1 or 2 missions that gave him additional rewards. Furthermore, these people had reached 6-star and 7-star. From this, it could be seen how much effort they had put in. Now that they were being demoted, how could they accept it? As for Sister Zhen, although Lin Ling didn't like her, Lin Ling wasn't stingy to the point of being overbearing. This was because he knew that Sister Zhen didn't have any enmity with him. The reason why she attacked him was because she couldn't put her face down. However, Sister Zhen was also one of Lei Gong's 10 challengers. They would inevitably meet in the future, so Lin Ling didn't want to make their relationship too stiff. Did you see that? This is magnanimity. Look at you guys. Hearing Lin Ling's words, Lei Gong said to Sister Zhen and the others. Lord Lei Gong, we were wrong. Those trial takers all lowered their heads and sincerely admitted their mistakes. However, although Sister Zhen was apologizing, her heart was burning with anger because Lin Ling seemed to be pleading for them. In fact, he was embarrassing her in front of Lei Gong. Lin Ling was definitely doing this on purpose. What a shrewd person. Sister Zhen thought to herself. In fact, she had wronged Lin Ling because Lin Ling and her met for the first time. Although there was some friction, there was no need for him to target Sister Zhen. What's more, Lin Ling still didn't know why Lei Gong valued him, so Lin Ling naturally wouldn't provoke others. How about this, other than O Shuzhen, everyone will drop 1 star. You should thank Lin Ling. In the end, Lei Gong made a decision, and his words made those trial takers extremely excited. They could accept it if it was just a drop of 1 star. At most, they would lose a few thousand years of hard work. Thank you, Lin Ling. Then, they immediately saluted Lin Ling with their hands folded. Lin Ling was a little embarrassed. Lin Ling, this matter isn't your fault. We were reckless. Please forgive us for offending you before. However, those people said politely, as if they were very grateful to Lin Ling. Seeing this, Lin Ling also cupped his hands and bowed in return. Oh Shuzhen, aren't you going to thank Lin Ling? At this time, Lei Gong saw that Sister Zhen didn't speak, so he immediately said coldly, although you're a 7-star trial taker, you don't have the right to order other trial takers. You've violated the rules, so I'm dropping 2 stars. Are you not satisfied? Your subordinate doesn't dare. Sister Zhen quickly lowered her head and said. Then, she looked at Lin Ling and smiled, thank you, Lin Ling, for pleading on my behalf. This sentence seemed very sincere, but her heart was trembling. She felt that Lin Ling was doing it on purpose, definitely on purpose. As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. Let bygones be bygones. Lin Ling suddenly smiled, not noticing the change in Sister Zhen's heart. Thank you. Elder Sister Zhen said again and then retreated. All of you can leave. Lin Ling, stay. At this time, Lei Gong waved his hand impatiently and said. Yes, sir. All the trial takers left respectfully, and Lin Ling looked at them indifferently. He realized that there were only 5 trial takers here, and including himself, there were only 6. This meant that there were still 4 trial takers who had not appeared. However, these 5 people were very strong, surpassing Lin Ling. This strength wasn't due to talent, because Lin Ling also had the divine embryo body. However, their divine power was more than Lin Ling's. Lin Ling, are you curious why I value you so much? At this time, Lei Gong walked down and looked at Lin Ling with a smile. Lin Ling quickly nodded. Come with me. Lei Gong didn't say much and strode forward. At the other corner of the hall, there was an ancient stone door. After Lei Gong opened it, he led Lin Ling in. What surprised Lin Ling was that behind the stone door was a paradise. There were green mountains and clear waters, birds chirping and flowers fragrant. It seemed that this paradise was in this sacred mountain. However, Lin Ling didn't expect this sacred mountain to be so big. Looking into the distance, Lin Ling found that there were many people. There were almost 1,000 of them. And these people weren't weak. There were young people and old people. Some of them were sitting cross-legged, while others were looking at the astrolabe in front of them. In short, they all had their own things to do. They are all in the void, looking for the world will. Standing on top of a cliff, the thunder god pointed to the front and said, "I've been searching for these people in the 9 states and the void for so many years. They each have their own powerful domains and are definitely not ordinary experts." Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded because he could sense it even without Lei Gong's explanation. Perhaps because they were in Lei Gong's territory, these people didn't hide their strength. When they were doing something, most of them released their auras. This made Lin Ling realize that many of them were at the late stage of the martial god realm. Some were even at the peak of the martial god realm. They were close to becoming gods. Many of them had divine fetuses. Some of the divine fetuses' auras even made Lin Ling feel great pressure. "Tainyo, come here." At this time, Lei Gong calmly shouted. Then, a simple and honest man immediately ran over from afar. He ran in the sky and wore cotton clothes. His pants were folded at his knees and his legs were bare. He looked like a farmer. Of course, if he released his aura, everyone in Jojo would think that he was a farmer. Chapter 4061. Inheritance. His innate talent is the innate godly embryo, which is the 3rd rank, the innate talent of a lesser god. Lei Gong explained to Lin Ling, then said to the man, "Release your godly aura." "Yes, my lord." The honest man smiled at Lin Ling, then released the aura of the godly embryo. Rumble. Behind him, the wind and clouds roiled, and a huge black iron bull appeared. Around the iron bull, the river flowed, crashing into the black iron bull, but the black iron bull did not move at all. During this process, a terrifying pressure swept towards Lin Ling, causing Lin Ling to immediately retreat, his expression changing greatly. He immediately unleashed his full strength, but was still pushed back. "Ha! Ha!" Seeing Lin Ling's sorry state, Lei Gong immediately laughed, then said to the man, "All right." "Ha! Yes, my lord." "Ha!" The man quickly retracted his aura, then cupped his hands towards Lin Ling and said, "Before, I have offended you." "Ha! It's fine, it's fine." "Ha!" The pressure on Lin Ling's body suddenly disappeared, and he said awkwardly. He never thought that he, who was already so strong, would not be able to withstand the aura of a random person in front of Lei Gong. This made him smile bitterly. It seemed that he was a frog in a well. His name is Iron Bull, and he was originally an ordinary farmer in the myriad worlds. But due to chance, a godly embryo of a god from the era of gods descended upon him, so I brought him back and gave him a few pointers. "Ha!" Lei Gong turned to Lin Ling and said, "In fact, Iron Bull's strength can only be considered average among this group of people." "Ha! Even average strength is so strong." "Ha!" Lin Ling could not help but be shocked. "Ha! They only allowed the godly embryo to grow. As for you, although you are currently weaker than them, you will be stronger than them in the future. Because you have 2 godly embryos, especially the Luai's body, it will not be much weaker than me in the future." Lei Gong said. "Middle god?" Lin Ling was shocked yet again. So the human king's flame was a god-level divine embryo, and so was the lightning divine embryo. This also meant that the divine embryo had a limit, but just like talent, it could be improved until it reached its limit. For example, his spacetime god eye, one of the 6 great god eyes of the universe, had been incomparably powerful in the past, but after reaching its limit, it had undoubtedly dimmed in the final world. And although Lin Ling's 2 divine embryos were stronger, they had clearly not matured yet. Thus, when Iron Bull had unleashed his divine might, Lin Ling had found it rather difficult to block. Moreover, your divine aura has yet to awaken. Earlier, Iron Bull activated his divine aura and created a powerful divine aura. The birth of divine might is divided into three great realms. The first realm will give birth to one strand of divine might, forming a divine might field that ripples around you and affects your opponent. The second realm will give birth to two strands of divine might, forming a rippling divine might field that is constantly released to intimidate your opponent. The third realm will give birth to three strands of divine might, which is the berserk realm. It can form a sea urchin-like divine might to attack your opponent. This divine might is actually the majesty of a god. Lei Gong smiled as he looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling hurriedly nodded. Because he had too many talents, when he fought, he mostly used his higher level to suppress his opponents. In terms of comprehension of talents, he could not compare to these people. At present, he had only comprehended his own divine ability through the flame of the human sovereign. Your potential is greater than theirs, which is why I value you. Of course, the most important reason is that you have the lightning scour body. This is a talent left behind from the era of gods. It originated from a majestic god called the lightning scour god. This person was forthright and had countless friends. His personality was rather similar to yours, and he also had friends all over the world. Back then, I had a very good relationship with him, but unfortunately, he fell in the war of the gods. Alas! The thunder god looked into the distance and said with nostalgia, "So you are his successor." However, there aren't many gods who are proficient in the power of thunder in the universe today. I am the only one who can teach you. This is why I value you so much. Lei Gong, my lightning scour body was actually born on my own. Lin Ling finally understood, but he still felt that he could not accept Lei Gong's love. After all, his lightning scour body was obtained through dual cultivation with an Yuer. He did not even know what the lightning scour god looked like. It was caused by fate. However, Lei Gong did not mind, and Lin Ling finally nodded. Do you know the mission of the four great gods? Then, Lei Gong looked at Lin Ling. It should be the world will. Lin Ling had already completed several major trial missions, so he more or less knew Lei Gong's mission. That's right, the War of the Gods was also because of the world will. Unfortunately, the world will was too powerful. Currently, there are no more than 20 gods left alive in the War of the Gods. However, the world will is not as simple as imagined. After so many years, it is ready to move again. I'm afraid the new era of God's destruction is about to begin. Lei Gong sighed. Is the world will so difficult to destroy? Lin Ling immediately asked curiously. Perhaps the world will cannot be destroyed at all. It can only be sealed. Lei Gong shook his head and said, the reason why I nurtured 10 trial takers is to prepare for a rainy day. In the future, if I, Lei Gong, fall, there will be a successor in my Lei Gong Hall who will take charge of all the experts for me and continue to resist the world will. I have lived for countless years, but if the new era of God's destruction begins, I cannot guarantee that I will survive. Hearing this, Lin Ling sighed inwardly. The four great gods seemed to be awe-inspiring, but in fact, they also had their own concerns. Their own missions could fall. And you are also a trial taker. If you complete the 10 major trial missions, you can also become the successor of the Lei Gong Hall. However, I have my own forces, and I want you to take over. Lei Gong said again. Me? Currently, I am too weak. Lin Ling immediately shook his head. Currently, I am a little weak, but I can grow in the future. Lei Gong waved his hand carelessly. In fact, the four great gods are actually one. The experts here listen to my orders, but in fact, they also listen to the orders of the other gods. However, my personal forces are different. They only listen to me, and in the future, they will only listen to you. Thank you, Lord Lei Gong. At this point, Lin Ling was no longer pretentious. He immediately knelt down and bowed to Lei Gong. Ha ha ha. Seeing Lin Ling's striking appearance, Lei Gong laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with nostalgia. Back in the era of gods, he also had several successor disciples, but in the end, they all fell. After so many years, he had never found a successor because he felt that there was no suitable one. Chapter 4062. 9 Orifices Divine Thunder. I know that a martial artist will have many masters in their life. So, between you and I, there is no need for such tedious etiquette. You can treat me as your master, or you can treat me as a lord above your head. But in my heart, you are my disciple, and also my successor. Lei Gong took a step forward and helped Lin Ling up. From the looks of it, he was no longer the majestic thunder god, but more like an old man. Gods might seem impressive, but in reality, they were also very lonely. This was because they rarely revealed their true feelings. They treated the common people of the world like ants, leaves, or even grains of sand. That was because they knew that if they used their true feelings, then when those friends of theirs left in the future, only sadness and loneliness would be left for them. Therefore, they would only be moved when facing someone with a certain level of strength. Lin Ling was one of them. At least in the eyes of the gods, he was no longer an ant or a leaf. He was a disciple, a relative. Lin Ling was also aware of this. That was why he had been frantically searching for treasures all these years in order to keep his grandfather and the others. He didn't want his grandfather and the others to leave because of sickness and old age. He wanted them to watch him grow step by step and reach the peak of Huanyu. Lin Ling also had a dream in his heart. After he had completely become an omnipotent god, he wanted his family and friends to have a boundless lifespan and be by his side forever. The only way to accomplish this was to break the grand Tao of this void and create a grand Tao that belonged to him. Your talent, comprehension, and perseverance are all not bad. Moreover, you are an all-around genius. Your soul force, physical body, and boundary essence foundation are all very good. Moreover, you have several great talents. If you grow up, your strength will definitely not be simple. At this time, Lei Gong looked at Lin Ling and said. As his trial challenger, Lin Ling was naturally familiar with Lin Ling. And it's quite strange that you actually have 6 dantians. This kind of talent is even more terrifying than the Luai's physique. So, don't let this talent go to waste. Lei Gong continued, in the future, if your 6 dantians all have 6 types of divine embryos, TSK, you'll probably become a paramount god. Of course, he was only looking forward to it, but he knew that it would be very difficult. This was because cultivating one type of talent was already very difficult. Cultivating 6 types of talents at the same time was even more difficult. In addition, the divine embryo body was not easy to obtain. Everything depended on luck. You might have a divine embryo right now, but you are not considered a god because you don't have a divine aura. Thus, the first thing I will teach you is to give birth to divine aura so that you can be considered a god. Lei Gong looked at Lin Ling calmly and said. Huh? Didn't one have to break through the martial god realm to become a god? Hearing this, Lin Ling blinked. The so-called gods only need a divine embryo, because they also have the foundation to become a god. However, becoming a god is very difficult, and very few people can reach the end. Lei Gong said with a smile. Then, he led Lin Ling forward. Splash! In front of them, there was a heavenly river pouring down, sprinkling endless waves. Beside the waterfall, there were island-like rocks floating there. It was a magnificent sight. Looking at the place where the waterfall fell, the stream was so clear that the bottom could be seen. The birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. It was really a fairyland. Although you are my successor, I will not help you with the trial of God mission. Now that you have successfully returned and experienced the path of seeing divinity, you can be considered to have completed 2 great missions. You can obtain 2 great rewards. What do you need? Floating in the air, Lei Gong looked at the waterfall in the distance and said. 2 major rewards. Lin Ling was overjoyed and then pondered. The most important thing was naturally to break through to the next realm. However, when he thought of the god's inheritance, Lin Ling suppressed this thought. Because his god's inheritance treasure had enough cultivation resources to become a god. Also, he needed too many treasures to open his 7th dantian. He was too embarrassed to ask Lei Gong. Suddenly, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. He finally remembered a wish that had been suppressed in his heart for many years. Lei Gong, I want to revive some people. Lin Ling looked up and said excitedly to Lei Gong. That wish was to revive the people in the rainforest sacred ground. After all, he was now the divine voice and had Lei Gong's men to protect him. Thus, grandfather and the others would be fine when they returned to the rainforest sacred ground. If he could revive Lord Shui Wu and the others, grandfather and the others would be very happy. The rainforest sacred ground was where Lin Ling grew up. There were too many memories, such as the ancient face sect, the Heaven Mystics Kingdom, and so on. A lot? Lei Gong saw Lin Ling's excited look and couldn't help but ask curiously. A lot, but it's not as many as a realm. Lin Ling said. Separation by life and death, this is the great Tao of the universe. No one can change it. However, if the souls of those who died still exist and are still in the netherworld, then I can still do it. However, I can't be sure that everyone will return. Lei Gong said. If he had the ability to reverse the universe and turn back time, then he would already be a supreme god. He couldn't even bring back his disciples who had died in the past. Because those disciples' souls had been scattered, and people without souls, unless they were supreme gods, no one could do it. If you want to bring those people back, you have to go to the netherworld. The netherworld is the core of all the underworld. The current god is the god of the underworld, an extremely mysterious expert. I don't have a deep relationship with him, but if I ask him, he should give me some face. Lei Gong smiled and said, of course, it will take a lot of effort to bring those people back. So, your 2 rewards will be 1 reward, how about it? Good. Lin Ling nodded heavily. He knew that Lei Gong said it was simple, but the process must be complicated. The netherworld, the center of millions of underworld. The god of the underworld, the god who controlled millions of ghosts. The price to make a deal with him was definitely not small. Okay, leave it to me. I brought you here today because I want you to use the 9 orifices divine thunder to help you feel the divine power. I'll give you 3 years, how about it? Then, Lei Gong pointed to the rolling heavenly river in front of them and said. Divine power? Lin Ling's pupils constricted. This kind of aura represented the symbol of the gods, he naturally wanted to be born. Humans have 7 orifices, gods have 9 orifices. Open the 9 orifices, that is the symbol of the gods. The god of thunder said faintly. He waved his right hand. Suddenly, the Milky Way of the waterfall in the distance began to flow backward. When all the water disappeared, a colorful river suddenly began to flow out of the pitch-black hole in the void. The surface of the river was full of thunder and lightning snakes. When it fell to the ground, everything that was originally like a fairyland immediately turned into a catastrophe. Thunder River. Chapter 4063. Instigation. Every god has their own way of activating divine power. For me, it is to use the 9 orifices divine thunder to comprehend divine power. Lin Ling, do you have the confidence to comprehend it within 3 years? Then, Lei Gong looked at Lin Ling with a faint smile and said, of course, if you feel that you are not prepared enough, I can give you 10 years. 10 years? Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. He had used 10 years to escape. Now that he had just returned, he was going to disappear for another 10 years? No, 3 years is enough. Lin Ling could not wait to return to snow-blowing city, so he did not have time to waste here. You are confident. You are indeed my successor. Good, I will give you 3 years. After 3 years, you will leave the 9 orifices divine thunder and then go welcome your friends. Seeing that Lin Ling agreed so readily, Lei Gong was undoubtedly very happy. He smiled and said, however, do not underestimate the 9 orifices divine thunder. Remember, when you comprehend it, try not to use your boundary essence. Use your talent and divine power to comprehend it. This way, you will comprehend it faster. Okay. Lin Ling nodded immediately. His gaze fell on the ferocious and crazy lightning river, and he was a little shocked. But very quickly, he also leaped over. At this moment, in the ancient mountain, all the experts were shocked. This was because they did not expect that someone would use the 9 orifices divine thunder to comprehend divine power. One should know that this kind of opportunity was extremely precious. For the trial takers, they would need to use 5 mission rewards to exchange for 1 opportunity. As for the others, it would depend on Lei Gong's mood. If they had contributed greatly to Lei Gong and followed Lei Gong for a long time, they would still have a chance. Rumble. The deafening sound made Lin Ling's face turn cautious. He threw all the treasures he had on him to the bank and rushed into the Thunder River naked. Do not use your boundary essence. Try your best to use your talent and divine power. Lin Ling also remembered Lei Gong's words in his heart. Crackle. However, before he could even get close to the lightning river, an explosive force pounced on him, as if an electric arc was exploding. When it wrapped around Lin Ling's body, Lin Ling felt his entire body go numb. He almost lost control of his body. Lin Ling began to feel excruciating pain as more and more lightning bolts came crashing down. He lost his footing and fell directly into the water, drifting along with the waves. Upon closer inspection, this water was also formed by lightning. There were a large number of lightning snakes that were as thick as hair on the surface. After a wave, even lightning snakes that were as thick as an arm would roll out. How could ordinary people dare to approach such a terrifying lightning river? As for Lin Ling, he was drifting along the river. Naturally, he wasn't much better off. He was in an extremely sorry state. This is the first time you've come into contact with the power of the Age of Gods. You've clearly underestimated the Age of Gods. In the sky, Lei Gong laughed faintly. He seemed to have known that Lin Ling would end up like this. To comprehend the power of gods, you must hear the voice of your divine embryo. After leaving behind this sentence, Lei Gong also disappeared into the sky. Lin Ling climbed back to the shore with difficulty. His face was constantly trembling. With his current strength, he still couldn't block the lightning river. This 9 orifices divine thunder was really powerful. After climbing ashore, Lin Ling looked around and found that his body was dripping with lightning bolts. It felt as if he was dripping water. The river formed by lightning is truly lifelike. Lin Ling sat down cross-legged. He knew that he was just testing the waters. He had 3 years left. He could slowly explore it. As for the distant mountain range, a large number of people looked at the lightning river crashing down from the sky and began to discuss it. Lei Gong activated the 9 orifices divine thunder for Lin Ling. I'm so envious. Who is this Lin Ling? Why is he being treated so well? Senior Lei Gong has always been strict. He has always treated everyone equally. I remember when I activated the 9 orifices divine thunder, I used 8 quest rewards to exchange for it. Lin Ling definitely didn't have 8 quest rewards. Therefore, it must be Lei Gong who activated it for him. However, this Lin Ling is only a first-layer martial god. With his strength, it's impossible for him to comprehend the power of gods. Not that I'm underestimating him, but I'm afraid he won't be able to do it in less than 100 years. These people were obviously jealous of the treatment Lin Ling was receiving. That's not necessarily true. Lin Ling must have his own strength since Senior Lei Gong is so fond of him. I believe he will succeed in less than 10 years. Even if he succeeds, he will only be able to comprehend the power of the first layer at most. Either way, as long as he can comprehend the power of gods, he will be considered a god. Someone who was not hostile toward Lin Ling said with a smile. Sister Zhen, why aren't you saying anything? Following this, someone said to Sister Zhen. Since Sister Zhen had arrived, she had been staring ahead in silence. No one knew what she was thinking. However, when the crowd glanced at her, Sister Zhen said with a smile, "Don't underestimate Lin Ling. Lin Ling is the fastest to achieve the heavenly voice of God. He must be different from the rest. Perhaps he will be able to comprehend the power of gods in 3 years." However, Lin Ling might have made a great contribution since he was able to help Lei Gong activate the 9 orifices divine thunder in such a short time. Otherwise, it's impossible. He has just arrived. What kind of contribution could he possibly make? Hearing this, someone immediately said in a jealous tone while touching his broken arm. Because of a mission, his arm was forever left there. Therefore, it could be said that he had devoted his life to the thunder god. However, he had waited 100 years for Lei Gong to activate the 9 orifices divine thunder. Therefore, when Sister Zhen said this, he felt very uncomfortable. The others fell silent as well. They were more or less uncomfortable. The difference in treatment was too great. Most importantly, Lei Gong had never mentioned why Lin Ling was able to receive such treatment. It was hard for them to accept it. Looking at the silence of the crowd, Sister Zhen smiled faintly and turned to leave. Her previous words were naturally not unintentional. She had deliberately said them in order to make these people jealous and unbalanced. Moreover, she felt unfair in her heart. Sister Zhen, you were originally a 7-star trialist. Now, you have become a 5-star trialist because of Lin Ling. I feel unfair for you. Someone quickly caught up with Sister Zhen and sighed. And he was Zhong Shan. I see that you are also unhappy with Lin Ling. Sister Zhen stopped in her tracks and said to Zhong Shan calmly. Zhong Shan was stunned and suddenly felt awkward. I know what you meant by that. You are trying to sow discord between me and Lin Ling, right? Sister Zhen said again. This. Chapter 4064. Translator, Nioi Bo Studio Divine Might. Back then, in order to become the heavenly voice of God, I had put in thousands of years of hard work. Therefore, when I first saw him, not only did I not accept him, I even disliked him. Zhong Shan didn't hide anything. Of course, I also feel that it's unfair for Sister Zhen. Although Sister Zhen made a move on Lin Ling, you did it for Lei Gong. After all, the 4 gods are a family. Sister Zhen also didn't want to make Eugene unhappy because of Lin Ling and make things difficult for Lei Gong. Who knew that you would be punished for doing a good deed, while Lin Ling would be fine? He even pretended to plead for you. Hearing this, Sister Zhen's eyes flashed imperceptibly, but she still calmly said, "Time will prove everything." Then, he swaggered off. Looking at Sister Zhen's back, Zhong Shan's eyes flashed. He knew that Sister Zhen hated Lin Ling even more now. While Lin Ling was comprehending the divine might, in another part of the void, endless darkness was spreading. This place was completely dark, and any light that entered would be swallowed up. "Milord." At this moment, a clear and melodious voice suddenly resounded from within the darkness. However, the surroundings were too dark, and it was impossible to see this person's appearance clearly. It was said that this was the darkest place in the void. In the endless darkness, there was no sound at all. It was as if even sound had been swallowed up by the darkness. Moments later, a woman's voice rang out, "You're back." "I'm back." The voice on the other side carried a hint of complexity as it quietly rang out. "You must be curious as to why I killed you." The woman's voice floated out again. She was Eugene, one of the four great gods. This was also Eugene's world, known as the Soul World. "Yes, I'm very curious." The voice on the other side seemed to muster up the courage to ask. "Because of Lei Gong." The woman said calmly, "You can also say that it's because of Lin Ling." "Lin Ling? It's really him." In the endless darkness, the person standing quietly trembled. Although she had already guessed it, when the truth appeared before her eyes, she still found it unbelievable. Because Lin Ling was just a trial taker, and had just ascended to the heavenly voice of God. How could he possibly let Lei Gong to attack him? Who was Lei Gong? Of course, she knew that this was a god who, like Yushan, viewed all living beings in the world as ants. It was impossible for them to fall in love with a trial taker. Their entire lives were dedicated to that mission. It could even say that they're to take revenge on the will of the world. Because, in the war of the gods, the people they loved all died in the hands of the world will. Why? Her voice, her to of her, a voice a, Milu studio of course of the AM day, studio. AM for now. To me you to studio I. You. Studio did you? Me to me, you. You. The voice in the endless darkness quietly carried a trace of ruthlessness. I understand. Thank you, Master. The person in the void bowed slightly, then walked into the endless darkness. After walking for a long time, a light spot finally appeared in front of her. Looking carefully, it was a white flower. The woman walked towards the huge white flower and finally disappeared into the endless darkness. When she appeared again, she was already in the void. She was wearing a white dress, her eyebrows were like the moon, and her teeth were bright and beautiful. She was truly a peerless beauty. She was none other than the colored glaze great empress. What did you rely on to make Lei Gong value you so much? She stood quietly in the void, her expression extremely solemn. Because she realized that the current Lin Ling was even scarier than Li Xiaoyao in the past. With Lei Gong's protection, Lin Ling can grow up safely. If he completely grows up, will I still have a place to stand? So no matter what, I must find a chance to kill Lin Ling. Luli Empress's face became ferocious. At this point, Lin Ling was not only her old friend, but also the man she liked. He was also her mortal enemy. To Luli Empress, she would rather betray the world than have the world betray her. Therefore, no matter who Li Xiaoyao was, she would not show him any mercy. Time passed quietly like a white horse galloping past. At this moment, under the 9 orifices divine thunder, the young man sat cross-legged. Around his body, god images would appear from time to time. For a moment, there was the roar of a dragon god, and then there was the roar of a wind dragon. Next, the darkness spread. There were realm-devouring beasts swallowing the heavens and the earth. Then, there were endless evil spirits lingering in the sky. In the end, the human king's flame spread out and burned under the thunder river. Crackle. In the other world of the human king's flame, the white lightning was wreaking havoc. After a few days, Lin Ling had begun to adapt to the impact of the 9 orifices divine thunder. In addition to that, with the help of the Thunder River, Lin Ling had also absorbed an endless amount of powerful spiritual qi, which allowed him to successfully enter the second-level martial god realm. The reason being that the energy was too ancient, as if it was the spiritual qi left behind from the era of the gods. After entering the new realm, Lin Ling's strength had undoubtedly increased by more than 30%. On top of that, his 6 Dantian realms had reached the second-level martial god realm, greatly increasing his strength. Most importantly, he could now open the second god's inheritance treasure. The treasures in the god's legacy treasure also shocked Lin Ling because there were a total of 50 god's stones in it. That was a huge sum of money. If he exchanged them for emperor crystals, Lin Ling was confident that he could break through again. If he used them to improve his god force, he would be able to produce more god force. Currently, Lin Ling was resisting the impact of the 9 orifices divine thunder with the help of the god stones. Awaken, divine might. Holding another god stone in his hand, a mysterious god force was produced to protect him. Lin Ling had finally activated the human emperor's flame. He had discovered it by accident. As the god stones were extraordinarily powerful and had many functions, Lin Ling's talent was slightly stronger when he activated the god stones. Furthermore, he had a vague understanding of the god stones, as if he had awakened the 9 orifices. That being said, it consumed a lot of god stones. Currently, he had used up 5 god stones to activate his talent to its limit. Crackle, crackle. Golden flames began to wreak havoc in all directions, standing on equal footing with the Thunder River, forming a world where the flames and the lightning collided. Lin Ling floated above the endless golden flames. His eyes had turned golden too. However, he could sense the power of the 9 orifices divine thunder, as the human emperor's flame was unable to assimilate the 9 orifices divine thunder. Awaken. Following this, Lin Ling let out a furious roar once again, as flames that resembled fireflies shot out from his body. These were the god flames. These god flames circled Lin Ling continuously, before they began to spiral slowly, forming a firestorm. As soon as the firestorm appeared, there were 3 streams of god force. Chapter 4065. The Berserker Realm. This meant that Lin Ling had completely become a god. With just this divine might, he could make countless experts kneel at his feet. However, this was not the end. The storm continued to explode and gradually began to converge, turning into circles of ripples that constantly emitted from Lin Ling's body. Every time it was emitted, Lin Ling's long hair would dance, making him look majestic. What a terrifying aura. Back then, Sister Zhen relied on this divine might to suppress me. This is the power of divine might. Lin Ling was shocked. He sensed that the flame of the human monarch had reached as many as 5 strands of divine power. And this was the second realm of divine might, the power of ripples. However, no matter how Lin Ling urged, the human monarch's flame seemed to have reached its limit and could not release any more divine might. When the divine stone in his hand completely disappeared, Lin Ling finally knew that the divine might of the human monarch's flame could only reach the second realm. Even so, Lin Ling was incomparably happy. Because up until now, he had only counted the time, and only 9 months had passed. Next is the lightning pool physique. This is the 9 orifices divine lightning waterfall. The divine might of the lightning pool physique will be even more powerful. Lin Ling licked his lips, took out a divine stone, and stimulated the lightning pool physique. He had a feeling that the divine might born this time could reach the 3rd realm, the Berserker realm. It could form the divine might of a sea urchin and attack the opponent. The divine might that was born was also as many as 3 strands. With this thought, Lin Ling became slightly excited. He immediately took out the divine stone and urged the mysterious power within it. A power that was completely different from spiritual energy spread out and lingered around Lin Ling, causing Lin Ling's 9 orifices to be even more clear. At this moment, Lin Ling felt as though he understood life and death better than anyone else. According to legend, humans had 7 orifices, but gods had 9. The 2 extra orifices were the life orifices and the death orifices. The so-called seeing through life and death was to open these 2 orifices. At this time, a martial artist could erupt with strength that surpassed that of an ordinary person. Of course, even if an ordinary martial artist could open 2 chakras, it would only be temporary. Only deities could completely open 2 chakras. Crackle. White thunderbolts swept out and clashed with the 9 orifices divine thunder in the sky. Lightning curled behind Lin Ling, quietly forming the shape of a bird. This bird looked ferocious, thistle-like lightning erupting from its body. Feathers also appeared behind it, just like a peacock's domain, but it was completely white. However, although there were many feathers, only one stood out. It was slightly larger than the other domains, and at the end of it was the shape of an eye. Looking carefully, those eyes had a seductive charm that made people unable to help but be immersed in them. Dong dong dong. At the same time, the eye emitted a sound similar to that of a small thunder drum. Dong dong dong. The sound of the thunder drum continued to ring out. With every beat, ripples of thunder would appear around Lin Ling's body. This was the second realm of Shenwei. Dong dong dong. Gradually, the frequency of the drumming became faster and faster, like the beating of war drums. Almost at the same time, the ripples around Lin Ling became more and more intense. Finally, they erupted, turning into a sea urchin-like thunderbolt power. As soon as this force appeared, the surrounding lightning river also froze. Then, it was pushed back in all directions by the impact. Looking at the 9 orifices divine lightning that continued to fall from the sky, it was blocked by a light that looked like a sea urchin. The third realm, Berserker Realm. This was the highest realm of Shenwei. With this level of Shenwei, a deity's defense would be greatly improved. And it would increase the power of a god by a total of 3 strands. Lin Ling, who was in the middle of the sea urchin-like thunderbolt, opened his eyes. His long hair danced in the wind, and he looked majestic. Berserker Realm. His lips curled into a smile. He clearly sensed that the power of the divine embryo had been completely unleashed. Moreover, he calculated that his power of a god had increased by a lot. Among them, the Bodhi Testimony divine art had 2 strands of power of a god, the human king's flame and the Abhijna lord's flame had 4 strands of power of a god, and the Luai's physique had 3 strands of power of a god. Together with the power of a god from the true inheritance dark sword, he had 10 strands of power of a god. Now, he could be considered a deity. Pa. Lin Ling walked along the river of thunder toward the shore. When he reached the shore, all the thunder around him disappeared, and Lin Ling returned to his ordinary appearance. Then, Lin Ling sat down cross-legged and opened the divine inheritance treasure. The second realm of the martial god realm opened the treasure vault. There were 3 treasures, the godly stone, the godly fragment, and a mysterious umbrella. The godly fragment was used to improve the divine embryo of fire. The umbrella was an 8th grade innate godly weapon called the Great Luo Towering Sky Umbrella. It was a powerful defensive artifact that could resist the attacks of any late-stage martial god, including those with the divine embryo of fire. It could be used 5 times, just like the Purple River 6 butterfly godly chariot, but one of them was used for offense and the other for defense. Although the level of these 2 treasures was not high, they were consumable items. According to Lin Ling's estimation, the level of these 2 treasures should not be grade 8, but even higher. Perhaps the grades of the treasures in the era of the gods were different than in the era of the gods. One for offense and one for defense. The deity who left the divine inheritance treasure was very thoughtful. I now have more trump cards to protect myself. Besides, even though there aren't many treasures, each of them is extremely important. The godly stone and the godly fragment are enough for me to achieve the 3rd layer martial god realm. Lin Ling let out a sigh. He did not refine the godly fragment right away as he had just awakened the power of a god. It had taken him quite some time to do so. Therefore, he was more eager to go home. Besides, according to his calculations, it had been exactly a year since he had awakened the power of a god. Luli Empress has failed to kill me this time. She won't let it go so easily. The experts she can summon are all very powerful. I must be careful when I return. When Lin Ling had first arrived at Lei Gong's place, Sister Zhen had also taught him a lesson about the strength of the trial takers from a different perspective. Therefore, Lin Ling did not dare to be complacent. As for Luli Empress' background, Lin Ling assumed that she was from Eugene. Therefore, unless he became stronger, Lin Ling would not dare to touch her easily. After all, if he asked Lei Gong to help him deal with Luli Empress, Lei Gong would fall out with Eugene. He had to rely on himself for everything. After packing up, Lin Ling flew into the sky. Huh! Almost as soon as Lin Ling walked out of the 9 orifices divine thunder waterfall, the thunder god in the distant palace opened his eyes. There was surprise in his eyes. There were quite a number of trial takers in the palace, a total of 6 of them. When they saw Lei Gong smiling, they were surprised. Previously, Lei Gong had been giving them a task with a serious expression. However, when he was talking, he suddenly smiled. It was too strange. Master Lei Gong. Seeing Lei Gong in a daze, one of the men smiled and called out to him. Oh! Chapter 4066. He had failed. Lin Ling is out. Then, he said calmly. Lin Ling came out. The eyes of the people in the hall flashed slightly. They never thought that Lei Gong would dote on Lin Ling so much. It could be said that his concern was a little excessive. It must be the newly promoted heavenly voice of God, Lin Ling. The man who spoke earlier suddenly laughed. He wore an imperial robe and a jade crown on his head. Whether it was his temperament or his clothing, he was different from the others. He was also one of the trial challengers. However, judging from the way he spoke and the way he stood, it was obvious that his status was higher because he was an 8-star trial taker. Its name was Holy Unification. That's right, I just advanced to Heavenly Voice of God a year ago. Lei Gong's attitude towards him was completely different from normal people. It was as if he was one of them. However, the other trial takers weren't jealous of such treatment. After all, Saint Guy was an 8-star trial taker and a powerful god. While they were conversing, the stone door at the corner of the large hall was pushed open. After which, a handsome young man in blue robes walked in. Subsequently, the scene in the large hall caused him to be stunned. He was a little surprised, but he quickly smiled faintly. Lin Ling, you're here. Lei Gong also smiled and walked down from his seat. Lin Ling's treatment is too good. Looking at Lei Gong's appearance, a few of them were even more jealous. The youth called Shengyi was a little surprised as he looked at Lin Ling with a complicated expression. Obviously, he had heard of this matter before. However, he had only heard of it and had only seen it with his own eyes today. Come, let me introduce you. This is Shengyi, an 8-star trial taker. After bringing Lin Ling over, Lei Gong pointed at the youth and said. Greetings, senior. Lin Ling hurriedly bowed. He knew that although the man looked young, he had probably cultivated for several times longer than him. Hee, we're a family now. You don't have to be so polite. If you don't mind, you can call me Brother Sheng. The man replied politely. Being able to address him as Brother Sheng was a supreme honor even in the universal void. After all, trial challengers were the same as Lei Gong. They viewed thousands of lives as ants. There were very, very few people that could be considered friends by them. Brother Sheng. Lin Ling knew that he was a latecomer and would have to deal with these people in the future. Therefore, he politely called out to them. Hee. The man immediately replied with a smile. Not only is Shengyi an 8-star trial taker, he's also extremely powerful. He has the bloodline of the Eastern Emperor Tai Yi. At this moment, Lei Gong suddenly spoke. Donghuang Tai Yi. Lin Ling's pupils constricted. He had heard of this name before. It came from the ancient Wuxia. This god was also an ancient god, also known as the Supreme One Ancient God, Supreme One Celestial God. In ancient Wuxia, there was even the Grand Emperor's Yao sole treasure. The earthly sovereign was Tian Yi. The human emperor was the Supreme One. Lin Ling had the human king's flame, but this was the human emperor. Were there any supreme gods in the era of gods? Lin Ling asked curiously. Yes, the supreme gods were all ancient great gods. It's a pity that these ancient great gods disappeared during the era of gods. Their whereabouts are still unknown. The gods once calculated that these ancient great gods went to another world and abandoned this void. Lei Gong looked at Lin Ling as he spoke. Lin Ling nodded immediately. However, he recalled the patriarch Bodhi he met in the West world. He seemed to be an ancient great god too. However, why were they hiding? Lin Ling couldn't figure it out. In the end, he couldn't be bothered. He only knew that Brother Sheng's strength must be terrifying. Oh right, you came out in just a year? Lei Gong suddenly asked curiously as he looked at Lin Ling with a burning gaze. A year's time. In Lei Gong's hall, no one had successfully awakened their divine power. As far as he knew, only one of the four great gods had awakened their divine power in a year. That person was from Eugene, and her name was Luli Empress. Most importantly, Luli Empress had awakened her divine power in a year mostly because of luck. Lin Ling, did you fail? The others also looked at Lin Ling suddenly. One of them laughed. Failure wasn't impossible. After all, everyone present knew how terrifying the 9 orifices thunder was. That force wasn't something a first-level martial god could resist. It's okay if you failed. After all, you can always go to the 9 orifices thunder next time. Sister Zhen suddenly spoke. Her words seemed to be comforting, but in fact, she was reminding Lei Gong from a different angle. Lin Ling seemed to be only so. Following this, the others began to discuss among themselves. It takes at least 100 years to awaken one's divine power, and that's the most common one. Those who don't have good luck or talent will need at least 1,000 years. Yeah, for example, Tainyo took 120 years. Elder Lu also took 99 years. Among the participants, Sister Zhen took 30 years, and Brother Sheng took 10 years. While they were talking, the topic shifted to Shengyi and Sister Zhen. The two of them smiled faintly and waved their hands. Big Sister Zhen pretended to be modest and said, "The most powerful one is still that person. He used 3 years and awakened the godly might of the Super Berserker realm in one go. Yeah, he's definitely the most impressive person in Lei Gong's hall." As expected of the leader of the participants. Shengyi said. Only 3 participants among the 4 great gods have awakened the Ultra Berserker realm in 3 years. Of course, that's excluding the woman called Tian Liuli. Sister Zhen added. The 4 great gods had 40 trial takers. To be able to become 3 of them was an achievement to be proud of. Hearing the comments of the participants, Lei Gong was still smiling. However, he didn't express his opinion. He knew that Lin Ling had an innate resistance to the 9 apertures heavenly thunder. Lin Ling had the thunder lock physique, so he was immune to many thunderbolts. Taking a step back, Lei Gong realized that Lin Ling had broken through to the 2nd level of the martial god realm. Therefore, Lin Ling should have achieved something. Lin Ling, it takes luck and perseverance to awaken the divine power. It's okay that you failed this time, but you can succeed next time and awaken the Ultra Berserker realm in one go. We'll give you some advice and experience later. I hope it'll help you. Sister Zhen's eyes flickered as she looked at Lin Ling affectionately. Of course, although she seemed to be concerned, she was actually touching on Lin Ling's sore spot. She wanted to embarrass him in front of Lei Gong. Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled and looked at Lei Gong. Lei Gong looked at Lin Ling and nodded. Originally, Lin Ling didn't want to release any divine might because he had heard from these trial takers that it was impossible to awaken divine might within a year. Therefore, he was afraid that if he released divine might, it would cause unnecessary trouble. However, when he looked at Lei Gong agreed with him, showing off the results of his cultivation. Maybe Lei Gong wanted to use him to give them some pressure. Maybe he was trying to motivate them. Chapter 4067. Awakening 2 great levels of godly might in a year. However, Big Sister Zhen and the others didn't know what Lin Ling and Lei Gong were thinking. Instead, they continued to speak. Lin Ling, when awakening godly might, you must not use your boundary essence to resist it. This is because once you use your boundary essence, that strength will be absorbed by the 9 orifices divine thunder. If you want to open that door of life and death again, it will be very difficult. This is my experience. Sensing your innate talent and using your innate talent to resist the 9 orifices divine thunder is the best. Lin Ling, everyone's method of awakening godly might is different. However, we will all tell you our own experiences of success. If you can experience it, you will also benefit greatly. Several people scrambled to speak, emphasizing the word success. It was as if they were the winners and Lin Ling was the loser. However, before they could finish speaking, a surging strength erupted. Godly might was awe-inspiring. In the grand hall, the blue-robed youth's robes fluttered loudly. His long hair danced in the wind. Ripples spread out from his body, making him look like a god. Silence. The trial challengers that had been discussing fervently all fell silent at this moment. The power of ripples. This was the second boundary. Big Sister Zhen and the others were still speaking, but they swallowed their words back into their stomachs. This? He awakened godly might in a year? The trial challenger that had spoken the loudest and tried to give Lin Ling some pointers on his success experience stuttered. Now, he wished he could dig a hole and crawl into it. Before, when they saw that Lin Ling had come out in a year, they assumed that Lin Ling had failed. But now, they discovered that their pointers were just wishful thinking. But why is it the power of ripples? After a moment of shock, Big Sister Zhen suddenly said with a sour tone. Clearly, Lin Ling had awakened his divine might within a year, and this made her very jealous. Therefore, she used the divine might realm to speak, thinking that Lin Ling's divine might realm was too low. After all, if Lin Ling was someone else from Lei Gong, it would be fine. But Lin Ling was a trial taker. Ripples of power and influence did not match his status. He had to be at the Super Berserker realm. Although it's the power of the ripples, Lin Ling only used 1 year. At this moment, Shengyi spoke up. He was reminding everyone that although the power of the ripples didn't match the identity of a trial taker, Lin Ling had only used 1 year. What if he used 10 years? Clearly, Lin Ling could awaken the Berserker realm. At this thought, everyone fell silent again, especially Big Sister Zhen. She opened her mouth, but eventually fell silent. She clearly knew that if Lin Ling was given 10 years, Lin Ling would definitely awaken the Berserker realm. This also meant that Lin Ling, like Shengyi, would also awaken his divine might within 10 years. In Lei Gong's hall, only the number 1 freak could suppress them. Thinking of this, Shengyi's eyes shone with envy. Lin Ling, this is a fire element divine embryo. What about your lightning element divine embryo? The god of thunder had been silent, but he was also shocked because it took 1 year to awaken his divine power. This was the first time among the 4 gods that someone had done so. However, he also knew that the fire element divine constitution couldn't compare to the lightning element divine embryo in the 9 orifices divine river. Therefore, he was looking forward to Lin Ling's lightning element physique. Lin Ling has other divine embryos? The other trial takers obviously didn't know much about Lin Ling. After hearing Lei Gong's words, they were all shocked again. Boom! At this time, the ripples on Lin Ling's body disappeared, and in its place, a ferocious lightning energy erupted. It was as if a god was angered. Moreover, it was in the form of a sea urchin. This sea urchin was extremely domineering. It constantly wreaked havoc in all directions, and it was full of ferocious lightning snakes. Bang! Everyone subconsciously took a step back, including Big Sister Zhen. A year ago, she had relied on her divine power to prevent Lin Ling from using any of his techniques. A year later, Lin Ling's divine power had forced her to retreat as well. The Berserker Realm. After retreating in shock, someone finally let out a loud roar. From the divine might that erupted from Lin Ling's body, he could sense a crazy aura. This was also called the Berserker Realm. Oh my god, he awakened to the Berserker Realm in just a year. He's comparable to Luli Empress from Eugene. Someone else shouted. What's comparable? Luli Empress can't compare to Lin Ling at all because Lin Ling has awakened 2 divine powers. However, the next voice made all the trial takers' jaws drop to the ground. That's right. They had forgotten that Lin Ling had awakened 2 divine embryos at the same time. Bang! Because of their surprise, everyone took another step back. Then, they turned around and realized that the person who had made the sound was actually the Thunder God. At this moment, the Thunder God was obviously very surprised, and his heart was full of doubts. Although he had guessed that Lin Ling's lightning element physique must have given birth to divine might, he didn't expect it to be the Berserker Realm. He couldn't figure it out at all. Because although the lightning element physique was immune to a portion of the divine thunder of 9 apertures, it was only a portion. He didn't expect that Lin Ling had actually cheated by relying on a large number of immortal stones to awaken 2 divine might. Awaken 2 divine might in a year? Sheng Yi's face turned serious, and he felt an inexplicable pressure. It wasn't that he disliked Lin Ling, but it was the innate competitive mentality of all cultivators. After all, no cultivator wanted to be surpassed by others. When faced with a newcomer, they would definitely want to compete with him. At this moment, Lin Ling withdrew all his divine might and smiled at the crowd. Lin Ling, you're amazing. You hit it so well. To think that I wanted to teach you before. How embarrassing. Now, you're the fastest to awaken divine might among all the trial takers. The trial takers smiled awkwardly and kept talking to Lin Ling. Although they had no enmity with Lin Ling, it was obvious that they were jealous when they saw Lin Ling being spoiled by Lei Gong. That was why they showed a sense of superiority earlier. However, this sense of superiority was immediately slapped in the face, making them dizzy. Especially Sister Zhen. She was the most embarrassed. She stared at Lin Ling for a long time before she forced a smile and said, "Congratulations, congratulations. I was just lucky." In the face of everyone's embarrassment, Lin Ling did not mind and smiled. He naturally knew that these people were embarrassed, but he obviously wasn't interested in this kind of competition at the moment. If it wasn't for Lei Gong's nod, he wouldn't have bothered to show off his divine might. Everyone, disperse. At this moment, Lei Gong said with a smile. It seemed that he was in an incomparably good mood. Yes, my lord. The trial takers cupped their fists and bowed. They left the hall with mixed feelings. Sister Zhen and Sheng Yi looked deeply at Lin Ling before finally leaving as well. One of them was motivated to fight, while the other was even more jealous and dissatisfied. Chapter 4068. He must have done it on purpose. I didn't think that Lin Ling would awaken his divine might the fastest among all of us. Awakening 2 divine might in a year, tsk, how terrifying. These voices undoubtedly made Sister Zhen and Shengue even more uncomfortable. Especially Sister Zhen, her face was ashen. Seeing Lin Ling's rise, she felt as if she had been ruthlessly stepped on by Lin Ling. She coldly snorted and said, "It's just awakening, what's so great about that?" As for the main hall, Lin Ling clearly didn't know what everyone was thinking. Instead, he was looking at Lei Gong expectantly. Tsk, looks like I've underestimated you." Lei Gong looked at Lin Ling with a smile on his face. He was still shocked by what had happened before. However, thinking about it from another perspective, Lei Gong would have something to be proud of when the 4 great gods meet in the future. This made him feel a burst of excitement. "Lei Gong, it's about my hometown." Lin Ling didn't care about what happened before. His mind was focused on the sacred rainforest. After all, Lei Gong had returned, so the matter of reviving everyone should have been resolved. I've already spoken to the god of the underworld. He promised me that he would do his best to help me with this. He's also searching for people from the Rainforest Holy Land in the underworld. As long as there are people from the Rainforest Holy Land who haven't reincarnated and whose souls still exist, he'll give them to me. When Lei Gong saw Lin Ling's expectant look, he nodded and said, "Thank you, sir." Lin Ling was overjoyed. In this way, the knot in his heart for many years could be resolved. Back then, the destruction of the Rainforest Holy Land was a demon in Lin Ling's heart. He had always felt that he had let down those people. Now that they could be resurrected, the inner demons that Lin Ling had been suppressing in his heart would undoubtedly vanish. However, don't be happy too early. After all, after so many years, perhaps many people have already reincarnated. Seeing Lin Ling's happy expression, Lei Gong said again. Although he could revive some of the dead, sometimes, God wasn't omnipotent. Otherwise, his dead disciple would have been able to return. I know, as long as most of them can come back. As for those who have reincarnated, I will go and see them. Of course, Lin Ling knew this as well. It's good that you know. However, you must also remember that everything in the past should go with the wind. Cherish the people in front of you. Lei Gong added another sentence. He was afraid that Lin Ling would be too immersed in the past, and this was obviously not good for Lin Ling's martial arts. In the end, the past was the past. Regardless of whether one was a human or a god, one had to look forward. Remember these symbols. That is the way to return to my place. As for when to pick someone up, take this netherworld mirror. When the mirror lights up, the gate to the netherworld will open and send the person you want out. Lei Gong handed Lin Ling a black mirror, which contained the fate of everyone in the rainforest sacred land. Next, he drew a few divine symbols in the air, which were used to open the path to see God. Lin Ling accepted them one by one, and then he bid farewell and left. Go. Come back after you finish these things. I have a task for you. Lei Gong smiled as he sent Lin Ling off. After Lin Ling bowed, he strode out of the palace. Looking at Lin Ling's back, Lei Gong's eyes flickered. Lin Ling's journey is bound to be full of twists and turns. Regardless of whether one is a god or a human, as long as they are in this void, they cannot control their own fate. Back then, the gods were so powerful, but after the battle of the gods began, they could not control their own fate. Instead, it became the twilight of the gods. He muttered to himself, and a trace of nostalgia and helplessness appeared in his eyes. At this moment, Lin Ling had already arrived outside the palace. Without stopping, he cast a divine symbol in the air. Then, with a roar, a flight of stairs appeared in front of him. This was the path to see God. Lin Ling immediately went down the stairs. Just as Lin Ling disappeared, in the distant green mountains, a man sneered. This Lin Ling is really stupid. He would be safe if he stayed by Lei Gong's side, but he ran out to die. Then, he quietly transmitted a message, as if he was informing someone. And he was none other than Zhong Shan. The first person to receive his message was undoubtedly Luli Empress. Luli Empress had been in the circle of the four gods for so many years. Over time, she naturally knew many people. Zhong Shan was one of them. At this moment, in Yi Garden, a large number of warriors from Shen Yi Hall and Shen Er Hall were listening to their teacher talk about the universal Tao. In the ancient square, the mysterious melody of martial arts also filled the air, causing the young warriors present to be shocked. Our Yi Garden is ranked fourth among the 36 academies in the final world. There are countless experts. It is your honor and pride to be able to be in Yi Garden. At present, besides the first-ranked Sky Sword Academy, there are more than 20 academies gathered at Wind Snow Academy to hold a martial arts exchange. Unfortunately, only the experts of Shensan Hall can go. So, you must work hard. If you want to make a name for yourself, you must first become an expert of Shensan Hall. An old man said faintly. His words made the young warriors around him look forward to it. To them, the final world was the world of the gods. It was said that the true experts could meet the gods. How glorious would it be to be able to meet a god in person? However, at this moment, above the sky, a five-colored divine light shot down and then reached the ground. Then, an ancient mysterious staircase connected to the ground. This also caused everyone's expression to change. What was this thing? Even the teacher furrowed his brows, and he was a little displeased. Today, he was giving a lecture, yet a beam of divine light suddenly descended. Wasn't this causing trouble? He was about to get angry, but what shocked him was that on the staircase, a figure was slowly walking down. Who is this person? How dare he swagger into our Yi Garden? Everyone was shocked again. Who are you? How dare you? Let me tell you, since you are here, don't think of leaving so easily. The teacher could no longer hold back and shouted angrily. Unfortunately, the young man walking down the stairs did not seem to hear. His gaze swept across the ground, and the corner of his mouth faintly revealed a bitter smile. Because, he was Lin Ling. He obviously did not expect that coming down the staircase to see God was not in Wind Snow City. Excuse me, where is this? Therefore, Lin Ling could only helplessly look at the crowd and ask. His helpless smile fell into the teacher's eyes and quietly turned into a contemptuous smile. Now, he even heard Lin Ling ask where was this place. On purpose, it was definitely on purpose. One must know that because everyone knew that this was Yi Garden, and their Yi Garden was ranked fourth among the 36 academies. It had its own prestige, so how could ordinary people enter? Chapter 4069. Sorry for disturbing you, goodbye. But very quickly, flames of anger rose in their hearts because they also felt that this person was humiliating them. Don't worry, the teacher will make a move soon and let him know the price. Someone sneered. And the truth was indeed so. The old man had already walked forward step by step, the boundary essence on his body moving mightily. However, just as he was about to make a move, an anxious shout suddenly sounded, "Stop!" Then, a large number of people flew over. The person in the lead was the vice principal of Yi Garden. Vice principal. Everyone was shocked. They never thought that even the principal would be alarmed. As for the old man, he stopped abruptly, but his expression was still unhappy. He wanted to see what the vice principal had to say. If he couldn't persuade him, he would teach that arrogant young man a lesson in front of the vice principal. Lin Ling, why did you come to my Yi Garden? After the vice principal arrived, he looked at Lin Ling unhappily. Previously, he saw the divine light shrouding down, and then he saw the legendary stairs to meet the gods. This made him realize that the stairs could directly lead to meeting the gods. At first, he was very happy that someone from the gods came to their garden. This was a great honor. However, when the person who came landed, he immediately felt disgusted as if he had eaten a fly. Because the person who came was actually Lin Ling. He naturally recognized Lin Ling. During the academy exchange competition, Lin Ling defeated Duan Wuhan in front of him and beat the other academies until they didn't dare to say a word. Now, the garden had yet to wash away the humiliation, and Lin Ling had come again. Moreover, he had come uninvited. Was he deliberately coming to trample on them? So it's garden. At this moment, Lin Ling also had a look of realization. Then, he said to the vice principal, "Sorry for the disturbance, goodbye." After saying that, he left casually. This also made everyone dumbfounded, and that teacher became more and more angry. However, at this moment, someone finally reacted. Lin Ling? Could it be Snow Wind Academy's Lin Ling? That seems to be the case. I heard that he went to see God and disappeared for a whole year. That's not right. He also stepped on the stairway to God before. He must be Lin Ling. Wow, he's Lin Ling. As the voice drifted out, everyone's expression changed drastically. As for the old man who was about to attack, his pupils trembled and he was so scared that he almost fell to the ground. Today, the name of the son of demon, Lin Ling, was known to everyone in the final realm. As for the 36 academies, he was a household name. There were even many martial artists from the first and second halls who secretly worshipped Lin Ling. Moreover, taking a step back, Lin Ling's strength was obvious to all a year ago. It was said that he had even defeated the city lord. Coupled with heavenly voice of God's identity, how could they afford to offend her? Even the vice principal of the garden did not dare to offend Lin Ling. He could only watch as Lin Ling left casually. There was only one sentence lingering in his mind. "Sorry for disturbing, goodbye." Damn it. He left after saying that it had nothing to do with him. Did he think that the garden was his own home? Moreover, he descended from the sky in such a high-profile manner. He was definitely proud of himself in front of the garden. Damn it. The vice principal was so angry that he almost vomited blood. After all, Lin Ling was not a martial artist from their academy. Instead, he came from the academy that they had once looked down on. And the academy that they had once looked down on now had a person who had met God. How could the garden put their face now? The entire garden was silent. They could only watch as Lin Ling left. However, many people knew that this was the second time that Lin Ling had humiliated the garden. Unfortunately, they did not know that Lin Ling did not deliberately humiliate them. He did not have the time. He just did not know that he would come to this place after climbing the stairway of gods. After leaving the garden, Lin Ling also came to City. Just as he was about to leave, he looked at the huge 8 trigrams mirror in the sky and sighed in his heart. During the garden exchange, Lin Ling was only an expert from the Shunsan Hall. However, many years had passed. When he came again, he was already a god. Even the vice principal of the garden did not dare to provoke him when he saw him. He could only sulk. Looking back, all of this was like a dream. Lin Ling, is that you? At this moment, a large number of experts appeared on the street ahead. When they saw Lin Ling, they immediately walked over with smiles on their faces. The person in the lead was the city lord of City. Back in City, Lin Ling saved Young Yao and Majin Tianzi, saw through Duan Wuhan's conspiracy, and also helped the city lord of City. At that time, he had formed a friendship with the city lord of City. City lord. Looking at the person who came, Lin Ling was also delighted and quickly bowed. It's really you. When I saw the stairway to God coming to the garden, I was still wondering who it was. I didn't expect it to be you. When the city lord of City saw Lin Ling, he was undoubtedly very happy. Moreover, he sighed in his heart. He never expected that the young man from back then would grow to such a height today. He remembered that at that time, Lin Ling was making a 3-year agreement with Martial God Wen Tian. At that time, Lin Ling was very weak, but he still dared to go to the meeting alone and meet Martial God Wen Tian. With such courage, he thought that he was the first person in the 9 states. As a matter of fact, not many years later, not only did Lin Ling win the promise of 3 years, he even killed the heaven-seeking Martial God. In the end, this unprepossessing kid even stepped onto the stairway to God in front of countless people in the final world. Thinking about it, there were probably not many people in the current final world who did not know Lin Ling. I also came here unintentionally. I've caused you inconvenience. At this time, Lin Ling said politely. It's nothing. The city lord of City waved his hand and said, You just came back from the god's place. I thought that once you came back, you would go to Snow City. After all, the Divine Path competition of the 36 academies is being held there. I didn't expect that you would come to our city. It's our honor. Divine Path competition? Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. It's just an exchange between some experts of the gods' 3 halls. With your strength, there's no need to participate. I'm afraid no one is your match. The city lord of City laughed. Lin Ling immediately nodded. He was naturally not interested in the Divine Path competition, but he never expected that the remote Snow City also had the right to hold a competition and become the host. Isn't it because of you? Seemingly aware of Lin Ling's doubts, the city lord of City immediately explained, You went to see God. At present, there is no one in the final world who doesn't know about it. Even your Snow Wind Academy has become famous. Therefore, this year's Divine Tao tournament was proposed by your dean. In the end, no one objected, so it was held in Snow Wind City. And this is a great honor for Snow Wind City. However, there are still many experts hidden in the 36 academies. They have been cultivating for much longer than you. If you are interested, you can go back and take a look. I think it's still not over yet. Chapter 40-70. Return. Good. Lin Ling's interest was also piqued, because in the snow-blowing city, Yu and the others would also participate, so he wanted to see the strength of Yu and the others. Then I'll take my leave first. I'll pay you a visit another day. Go, I know you have a lot of things to do. Just don't forget your old friend. Of course. After chatting for a while, Lin Ling walked towards the city gate and disappeared into City. Come out, he's gone. After Lin Ling disappeared, the city lord of City looked at a restaurant in the distance. On the 2nd floor of the restaurant, a woman stood there quietly, smiling as she looked in the direction Lin Ling had disappeared. She was the daughter of City's city lord, Xuannu. Back then, she had fallen in love with Lin Ling, but at that time, Lin Ling had rejected her. He had only promised that when Lin Ling had stepped onto the peak of martial arts, he would definitely come and marry Xuannu. For this promise, Xian Fairy had been waiting for it. The city lord looked at his daughter and couldn't help but sigh. He thought that with the passage of time, his daughter would eventually forget about Lin Ling. However, he found that the power of love was truly terrifying. After so many years, not only did his daughter not forget Lin Ling, but she also missed Lin Ling even more. This made him, the city lord, very envious of Lin Ling. He said that when he reached the peak of martial arts, he would definitely come and marry me. Now, he's almost there. On the second floor, Yi Xian Nu said in a soft voice. Her words attracted the attention of many people on the street, especially some male cultivators. They looked at the beautiful woman with burning eyes. Unfortunately, they also noticed that the beautiful woman's eyes were filled with nostalgia. She seemed to have a sweetheart. This made them sigh again and again. At this moment, Lin Ling did not know that Xian Env was still waiting for him. He had already left Yi Garden and was heading towards Snow City. His speed was also incomparably fast, easily reaching the speed of 5,000 worlds. Moreover, this was the result of him not painstakingly cultivating in the speed domain. Otherwise, his speed could have been increased by a little. Lin Ling had 6 stanchions. There were too many domains to study and comprehend. He didn't even have time to comprehend the divine embryo. How could he have time to focus on speed? And this was also the disadvantage of having too many stanchions. However, although Lin Ling did not cultivate in speed, his physical strength was formidable. As long as his physical strength, he could increase his speed. What a fast speed! That's an expert. Lin Ling flew across the sky and immediately attracted the attention of some martial artists on the ground. After all, the final world was the world of the gods. The rules here were very strict. How could ordinary people dare to act so recklessly? Therefore, everyone knew that the person to people who was flying across the sky a flying Ling. And judging from his speed, his speed. After a few hours, with Lin Ling's full strength, Snow City finally appeared in front of him. And Lin Ling could see from afar that Snow City was extremely lively at this moment. It was a boiling cauldron of voices and overflowing with people. This was something that Snow City had not seen for many years. Although the former Snow Wind Academy was not at the bottom of the 36 academies, its ranking was definitely not good. And now, because of Lin Ling, Snow City's position in the 36 academies was not low. Lin Ling naturally knew about this. However, a tall tree attracts the wind. Lin Ling also understood this principle. Therefore, he guessed that many experts from various academies would come out for this Divine Tao competition. Those experts from the strongest circle of the Divine Three Halls should also come. However, Snow Wind Academy had Yu, and Yuer, Young Demon Master and the others. Their overall strength was not weak. Therefore, even if those experts came, it would not be easy to be arrogant in front of Snow Wind Academy. In the final circle of the Shenzhen Hall, there are many people who are ranked in the top 100 of the Celestial Stairway. Last time, I met a strong cultivator on the Divine Stairway. This time, there will be even more strong cultivators like that. Lin Ling secretly thought. Then, he jumped down from the sky and entered through the city gate. Lord Lin Ling, you are back. The guards at the city gate obviously knew Lin Ling and shouted in surprise. Lin Ling also smiled and greeted them. Lord Lin Ling, I will immediately inform the city lord. An old man laughed, but Lin Ling shook his head. The city lord should be very busy now, so there is no need to trouble him. I will go see him personally. Then he asked, is the Divine Tao competition over? What is the result? It is not over yet, but the last round is about to begin. At present, our Snow Wind Academy has not lost face. Yu, and Yuer, Xian Yuan Gu, are all very powerful, and Young Demon Master, Zhuang Yanming, Majin Tianzi and the others are all very good. They are already representing our Snow Wind Academy's Divine Three Halls. The other academies do not dare to underestimate them. Yes, we feel like we are in a dream, because the previous Snow Wind Academy was not so powerful. They did not even have the qualifications to be the host. Moreover, I heard that in this year's Divine Tao competition, the major academies have sent out many experts. Some of the experts who have been adventuring outside have come back. They just want to meet Snow Wind Academy. Those guards were talking because they could also sense that after the arrival of the foreign warriors, they looked at Snow Wind Academy with a touch of awe. In the past, although those foreign warriors were not very arrogant, their faces always had a sense of arrogance, as if they were above others. Since it is the last round, then I will also go and play. Hearing their words, Lin Ling suddenly smiled and said. He had not returned for 10 years. The last time he came back, it was a pity that it was a hurried farewell and disappeared for a year without even saying goodbye. Therefore, this time when Lin Ling came back, he also planned to have a good gathering with Yu Yu and the others. Of course, Big Brother, Young Demon Master and the others were also there, so they could also have a good drink. As for the Divine Tao competition, Lin Ling was after all a member of Snow Wind Academy. Although he had already become the heavenly voice of God, his realm was not high, so he could still participate. After entering the city, there were not many people on the streets. Looking into the distance, he could faintly see an endless sea of people in the city. Cheers also quietly floated out. This made Lin Ling also smile, then he quickened his pace and walked towards the center of the city. At this moment, the city had already reached the last round, but it had not yet begun. This last round was a round where the strongest experts of the Divine Three Halls from more than 20 academies would exchange pointers. Ordinary experts of the Divine Three Halls did not have the qualifications to fight and were directly eliminated. Those who could participate, the worst were in the top 200 of the Heavenly Stairway of the Divine List, and many of them were in the top 100. Therefore, the total number of people was about 100 or so, which could be called the essence of the Divine Three Halls of the major academies. Chapter 4071. Registration. Master Lin Ling. When Lin Ling approached the huge martial stage, the patrolling guards immediately saw Lin Ling and were overjoyed. I'm here to register for the Divine Path competition. Is it not too late? Lin Ling suddenly laughed. Just in time, just in time. However, Lord Lin Ling came later. For him to suddenly join us seems a little inappropriate. What are you afraid of? We are the hosts, we have the final say. That's right. Some patrolling guards hesitated at first, but the other guards immediately laughed. Then, someone led the way for Lin Ling. And someone immediately transmitted a message to the city lord. At this moment, on the side of the huge martial stage, a large number of experts were sitting on a gorgeous high platform, drinking tea and watching the competition below. These people were all city lords from different places, and they were all main city lords. Suddenly, one of them's eyes lit up, and then he couldn't help but laugh. City Lord Song, what's wrong with you? Such an unrestrained laughter naturally shocked the city lord beside him. One of our Snow Wind City's experts is back, and he wants to participate in the final Divine Path competition. Tsang Chiri excitedly drank a mouthful of wine, and then said boldly. Who is it? Why are you so excited? The city lords were even more curious. Lin Ling. Tsang Chiri gently put down the teacup, and then said word by word. As soon as his words fell, the entire gorgeous high platform was silent, and all the city lords' pupils trembled fiercely. Lin Ling. How could they not know? A year ago in Snow Wind City, he stepped on the sea god ladder to see the god. He also came to participate. One of the city lords suddenly smiled bitterly, because on that day, countless people witnessed Lin Ling defeating the primal Chaos City Lord. If he came to participate, how could the others compete? He is also a student of our Snow Wind Academy's Shinsan Hall, and his cultivation time is so short. Is he not qualified? Hearing this, Tsang Chiri suddenly looked at the city lord strangely and said. That's possible, but... The city lord smiled bitterly again. If he participates, how many people can be his opponent? You're wrong, there are a few people here who are not weak, and their strength is comparable to the city lord. Don't you know that? Zhang Qiri shook his head and said. Even so, we still have a feeling that Lin Ling is more than them. The city lord sighed, and felt a little uneasy. It was because Lin Ling had not come a moment earlier or a moment later, and it just so happened that he had arrived at the most important competition. Wasn't he trying to anger people to death? Some city lords also secretly transmitted their voices, informing their academies that they were in. The deans' deans, of course. Lin Ling, what a fucking coincidence for you to come back. I don't think he's qualified to participate because he's too late. Then go and tell City Lord Zhang. He is the host. Moreover, Lin Ling is currently the heavenly voice of God. If you don't let her participate, are you trying to offend the gods? This? What did I say before? I forgot what I said. I don't think I said anything. The deans naturally did not want Lin Ling to participate, but they did not dare to offend Lin Ling, so they could only smile bitterly. And the news also spread from them. What? Lin Ling is back? The people of the Snow Wind Academy also received the news, and they were all overjoyed. Second brother is back. Sakura, Meng Lu, and Wangu Wuji were all excited. After they returned from the Kaiyuan River, young Master Yao immediately informed them to go to Snow Wind City, saying that it was Lin Ling's headquarters. Of course, when they wanted to bring the people of the God Extermination Alliance into the final world, they were stopped by many experts. After all, it was their first time entering the final world. Just as they were about to helplessly return home, many experts appeared and brought them into the final world in a domineering manner, leaving them incomparably shocked. After that, they found out that those people were also from the God Extermination Alliance. However, they had joined later, so they were very polite to Sakura and the others. After chatting for a while, Sakura and the others found out that this was the God Extermination Alliance that Lin Ling had brought out from the ancient dragon wasteland. Most importantly, the number of people and strength gave Sakura and the others a fright. It made them feel as if they had joined later. After arriving at Snow Wind City, they found out from young Master Yao and the others that Lin Ling had brought out the God Extermination Alliance himself. There were more than 80,000 experts, and their aura was monstrous. What made Sakura and Meng Lu even more speechless was that many people who were stronger than them actually respectfully called them leaders, which made them unable to put down their faces. In fact, young Master Yao and the others were the same. Therefore, now that Lin Ling had returned, not only were they excited, but they were also very grateful. This was because they knew that the reason the God Extermination Alliance could become an overlord was actually because of Lin Ling's contribution. Brother Ling is back. Yu and the others also looked around and were extremely excited. Did he come back to torture people? At the side, an Yu suddenly smiled. Indeed, he's back. Who among the 36 academies can be his opponent? Yu and the others immediately reacted and then giggled. At this moment, on the huge martial stage, rumors were constantly floating out. Those academy students who had received the news were all disgusted as if they had swallowed a fly. However, they also deeply doubted the authenticity of the news. It's just a rumor. How could Lin Ling possibly come back? Moreover, if he's back, how could he possibly participate in the competition? That's right. He didn't go through the preliminary round or the intermediate round. He wants to participate in the final round. Isn't that too unreasonable? Don't worry, I've already asked around. This is a smokescreen released by the Snow Wind Academy to affect our mentality. It's a pity that we're smart and won't fall for it. Voices of discussion rang out continuously. However, soon, at the edge of the martial stage, a figure in a blue robe appeared and walked step by step towards the registration area. Oh my God, Lin Ling is really here. Looking at the handsome figure, the crowd was in an uproar. As for the more than 100 experts who were about to participate in the competition, at this moment, their pupils constricted and their expressions became extremely complicated. Of course, there were a few people who smiled and were looking forward to it. These people were obviously very confident in their own strength and wanted to meet the heavenly voice of God, Lin Ling, who was in the limelight. After all, to be able to defeat Lin Ling in front of so many people was something to be proud of. Lin Ling? Among these people, there was no doubt that one person was the most excited. He was naturally Duan Wuhan. Chapter 4072. Jade Scroll. Lin Ling, you're not the only one with luck. I have it too. Duan Wuhan suddenly clenched his fists, his fighting spirit soaring. After he finished speaking, he also walked towards Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling arrived in front of an old man. Earlier, the guards had told him that if he wanted to register, he could find this old man. Moreover, this old man was a member of the 4 great gods. He was also a 10th grade divine paladin. Lin Ling, Lin Ling, Lin Ling. When the old man saw Lin Ling walking over, his voice stuttered. Although he was a paladin of God and was very arrogant in front of the great academies, in front of Lin Ling of God, he was clearly much weaker. I'm here to sign up. May I? Lin Ling stopped in front of the old man and asked indifferently. Sure, but are you sure you want to sign up? The old man's voice carried a hint of respect, and he was extremely speechless in his heart, because he also felt that if Lin Ling registered, how could the others play? Yes. Lin Ling nodded. Because this is the final round, so it's unavoidable for some people to make up the numbers. Ordinary people have to experience the Alioth spiritual thunder scroll to test their combat strength. The old man spoke helplessly when he heard this. An enormous jade scroll floated behind him, and it emanated the glow of treasures. There were a large amount of names on the jade scroll, and they were the names of those who were about to participate in the competition. Although the jade scroll was used to test the strength of the contestants, the old man knew that Lin Ling's combat strength had definitely reached the standard. Just place your hand on the Alioth spiritual thunder scroll. Then, activate your realm essence and power to make the scroll release light. If it releases 2 rays of light, then you have reached the standard. Then, the old man began to explain. Lin Ling nodded. He walked up to the jade scroll that was more than a meter wide and gently placed his palm on it. The jade-like scroll suddenly bloomed with dazzling light and soared into the sky. 2nd level martial god. Furthermore, the book released 2 rays of light, which means that Lin Ling has met the requirements. Looking at the light emitted from the jade scroll, everyone's eyes narrowed. A breakthrough? That being said, they were still surprised by Lin Ling's cultivation. After all, Lin Ling was only a first-layer martial god during the divinity battle a year ago. Although it wasn't impossible to break through in 1 year in the final world, it was still extremely rare. Most importantly, everyone was aware of Lin Ling's strength. He was able to defeat a late-stage martial god when he was only a first-layer martial god. Now that he had broken through, his strength would surely improve too. Therefore, many people guessed that Lin Ling definitely did not activate the Alioth spiritual thunder scroll with all his strength. Otherwise, there would definitely be more than 2 beams of light that shot into the sky. Lin Ling, congratulations on your return. Lin Ling had just obtained the qualification. At this time, a voice of laughter was heard. Under everyone's gaze, a handsome young man walked down the martial platform. He was Duan Wuhan. Lin Ling looked at him strangely. Huh? You're not dead yet? Damn it, how could I die? Duan Wuhan was a little proud at first, but when he heard Lin Ling's words, he immediately became furious. Of course, he knew that Lin Ling was talking about the divinity battle a year ago. At that time, countless people from the Duan family and the new heavenly court had died. His luck was good because he was the one who stopped Lin Ling at the beginning. After being defeated by Lin Ling, he did not join the camp to stop him again, so he escaped the disaster. It's good that you're not dead. Cherish your life and stay away from me. Lin Ling looked at Duan Wuhan indifferently. After speaking, he turned and left. For people like Duan Wuhan, Lin Ling didn't put him in his eyes from the beginning. He knew that this Duan Wuhan was a genius, but after repeatedly losing to him, he had already developed a heart demon. Whether it was his mentality or fighting spirit, in fact, it couldn't be compared to the beginning. And this was indeed the case. Every time he saw Lin Ling, Duan Wuhan had a feeling of losing his mind. Now, seeing Lin Ling disdain him, Duan Wuhan was undoubtedly so angry that his nose was crooked. Lin Ling, aren't you curious about my realm and my fighting strength? Suddenly, Duan Wuhan shouted, his voice carrying strong self-confidence. The martial arts platform was also silent in an instant. Because Duan Wuhan had already gone through the preliminary and intermediate rounds and had shown great strength, many people knew that Duan Wuhan was not simple. The former Duan Wuhan was actually not weak, but his cultivation time was short. However, in this year, Duan Wuhan had obtained an opportunity that led to a crazy increase in strength. This progress even made many people envious. After Duan Wuhan was elated, he declared to the final world that Lin Ling was not the only one who was so lucky. He, Duan Wuhan, also had such luck and could rise quickly. Right now, Duan Wuhan was provoking Lin Ling in front of everyone. And this young heavenly voice of God, how would he face it? Not interested. However, Lin Ling did not look at Duan Wuhan and said indifferently. Everyone was stunned. The deans were also stunned. Although Lin Ling's strength was comparable to the city lord, Duan Wuhan was not weak either. The most important thing was that in the previous competition, Duan Wuhan did not use his full strength at all, so people did not know where his limit was. However, in the face of such a Duan Wuhan, Lin Ling actually said that he was not interested. Duan Wuhan was stunned and suddenly laughed sarcastically. Lin Ling, it's not that you are not interested, but that you are a little afraid. You are afraid of losing to me, and then the name of heavenly voice of God will lose face. You are escaping from reality. Hearing this, Lin Ling's footsteps finally stopped and shook his head. Escaping from reality? Duan Wuhan could say that. Could it be that Duan Wuhan thought that his strength had greatly increased, and Lin Ling had stayed in the same place? It was not that Lin Ling looked down on Duan Wuhan, but Lin Ling felt that even if he did not break through the realm, Duan Wuhan was not his opponent. Brother Ling, Duan Wuhan's strength is not weak, and there are a few people who are not weaker than him. Anyway, you are going to compete, so take a look at his strength. At this time, a clear voice suddenly came over. It was Yu Yu from the Snow Wind Academy. Although Yu Yu was very confident in Lin Ling, she was always worried about Lin Ling. She was also afraid that Lin Ling would underestimate the enemy too much, so she reminded Lin Ling. The most important thing was to see Duan Wuhan's strength. There was no loss. Since my wife has spoken, then I will take a look at what you are capable of. With Yu Yu's words, Lin Ling finally turned around and smiled. Wow, that is very powerful Yu Yu. She is actually Lin Ling's wife. Hearing Lin Ling's words, some of the strong people from the major academies were shocked at the moment. Because in the previous competition, Yu Yu also showed a strong strength, which made them curious about who this beauty was. Some men who were fascinated by Yu Yu even tried to get closer to Yu Yu. However, now they all knew that this beauty was already taken. Chapter 4073. 10 people attack together. Senior son, please open the Alioth Spiritual Thunder Scroll. I want to let Lin Ling see my strength. At this time, Duan Wuhan shouted proudly and then strode towards the jade scroll. When his palm touched it, 4 rays of light immediately soared into the sky. Duan Wuhan's cultivation realm was at the 5th level of the martial god realm. Moreover, he had an acquired divine embryo and a strong divine power. 4 rays of light, this represented his battle strength. It was 2 more rays than Lin Ling. Do you see? Are you afraid? My current strength is not what you can imagine. Moreover, don't think that this is my full strength. I'm still hiding my strength. So, don't let me meet you later. Otherwise, I'll make you lose miserably. Sensing that his aura was constantly rising, Duan Wuhan was also incomparably proud. You made me waste so much time and you're just showing me this? Unfortunately, Lin Ling shook his head and turned to leave. He naturally also noticed that Duan Wuhan's strength had increased. However, this strength was really not enough for him to look at. You. Duan Wuhan was stunned. He thought that if he showed a part of his strength, Lin Ling would definitely be very surprised. However, Lin Ling was still as calm as usual. The way he looked at him could be described as simply ignoring him. This Lin Ling is so arrogant. On another high platform, the deans of the major academies narrowed their eyes. Today was the Divine Tao competition. It was the time for the experts of the major academies to exchange pointers. However, Lin Ling immediately became the host after arriving. He did not put the major academies in his eyes at all. Snow Wind Academy has Lin Ling. Their wings have hardened. However, Snow Wind Academy is so arrogant. Aren't they afraid of becoming a thorn in their side? Humph, just a nouveau riche. In terms of heritage, our academy was established 80,000 years earlier than Snow Wind Academy. Snow Wind Academy has to call us seniors when they see us. No matter what, Snow Wind Academy is now rising. Among the 36 academies, their ranking is not low. All kinds of sour words floated out from the deans' mouths. However, Snow Wind Academy is only relying on Lin Ling. Although Yu and the others are also powerful, compared to the real experts of the 3rd hall, their heritage is a little weaker. The strongest girl called an Yuer has an innate divine embryo. She is indeed extraordinary. If Lin Ling is defeated, then Snow Wind Academy will lose face. Even God's heavenly voice will become a joke. After a conversation, the deans' they looked at each other and saw the meaning in each other's eyes. They wanted to join forces and defeat Lin Ling. And the experts of their academies as masters immediately received the headmaster's academy. To be honest, they were Lin Ling. Because Lin Ling was only at the 2nd level of the martial god realm. Although he had a divine embryo, this kind of strength was not qualified to become a trial taker. And they had been bitterly cultivating in the academy for 10,000 years. They had been to the forbidden area and had broken through the divine treasury. From any point of view, they were more qualified than Lin Ling. Defeating him, although it won't change the result, it can still vent a breath of resentment. God's heavenly voice was also defeated by me. If this matter spreads out, I think it will be a good thing. Among the experts, a thin and weak young man shrugged his shoulders and smiled. To him, what he feared was Lin Ling's identity, not his strength. Lin Ling could defeat the city lord, but in fact, he could also defeat him. There were even a few people here who could. Just as they were chatting in high spirits, Lin Ling's footsteps suddenly stopped. He looked around the martial arts stage with a strange expression and said indifferently, "It's a waste of time. How about this, I'll represent the Snow Wind Academy to fight you all." The martial stage instantly went silent. Because they originally wanted to target Lin Ling. In the end, before they could raise it, Lin Ling had raised it instead. Moreover, Lin Ling represented Snow Wind Academy to defeat them. Lin Ling, now is the Divine Tao competition. You're representing the entire Snow Wind Academy to fight. Then what will your junior brothers think? You have to know that the Divine Tao competition is also a time to test one's strength. I'm afraid your junior brothers won't accept it. A dean said indifferently. Lin Ling's words also represent our Snow Wind Academy. At this moment, the dean of Snow Wind Academy also smiled and spoke. She obviously also knew that in today's Divine Tao competition, although their Snow Wind Academy could get a good result, they obviously wouldn't be able to win until the end. In the end, it was because their Snow Wind Academy's foundation was weak and they had only risen in recent years. Therefore, the following competition actually didn't have much meaning. But if Lin Ling could win against all the other academies, it would be a supreme honor for the Snow Wind Academy. Their Snow Wind Academy had been established for so many years and had always been an existence that was mocked and looked down upon by all the other academies. Now that there was a chance to surpass these academies, the dean wouldn't miss it. Therefore, she also looked at Lin Ling with burning eyes. Lin Ling smiled faintly at her. The dean had once helped him a lot. The Snow Wind Supreme token was given by the dean. Therefore, now that there was a chance to repay the kindness, Lin Ling naturally wouldn't miss it. In fact, we're almost done fighting. Therefore, we feel that it's very suitable for Lin Ling to represent us. After the dean, young demon master and the rest also spoke indifferently. They naturally knew that if the competition continued, they definitely wouldn't be a match for those people. Not to mention other things, just the cultivation time, they had 10 times less than those people. Seeing the dean and the Snow Wind Academy's students speaking, the various deans of the major academies suddenly smiled. Regarding this, they also couldn't wait. After all, they didn't believe that Lin Ling could sweep away all the students. Since Lin Ling is so stubborn, then we can only do as you wish. However, be careful not to be eliminated. A dean suddenly laughed. However, when he looked over, Lin Ling had already appeared on the martial arts stage and waved at the various deans. That nonchalant look of his undoubtedly stunned all the academy heads. Following that, all of them were in a foul mood. Because that gesture of waving was too arrogant. After all, they were still deans. Why don't we draw lots and see who will be Lin Ling's first opponent? A strong cultivator immediately snorted, his voice filled with strong dissatisfaction. No need to be so troublesome. Let the 10 of you come together. This will save time. After all, I just came back and don't have time to waste on this Divine Tao competition. However, just as the strong cultivator finished speaking, Lin Ling already shook his head and said. The audience was in an uproar. The deans of the various academies narrowed their eyes. 10 people together? One had to know that the remaining 100 people were all ranked 200 to 100 on the divine list. Although Lin Ling was powerful, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. If he wasn't careful, Lin Ling might be defeated. Moreover, Lin Ling also broke the rules. There was no need to draw lots at all. He looked down on others and let them go on stage. Moreover, there were 10 of them at once. Disgrace. Chapter 4074. As if meeting a god. All the deans were trembling with anger. Lin Ling was too arrogant. For a moment, the entire martial stage was silent. If looks could kill, then Lin Ling would have been skinned alive countless times. Lin Ling, I'll fight you. At this moment, an expert from the third divine hall finally leaped onto the martial stage. Boom! After smashing onto the martial stage, the entire martial stage shook by 30%. Feng Yao. An extremely ancient expert from the third divine hall. He was ranked 198 on the God ranking stairway to heaven. Me too. Following that, another person leaped onto the stage. Following that, more and more people joined in. There were a total of 10 people. In terms of seniority, these people were actually Lin Ling's seniors. However, they rarely stayed in the academy. Most of them were out adventuring. As for Lin Ling's name, they had naturally heard of it. In their impression, this rising star was extremely arrogant. However, after seeing him today, they realized that he was even more arrogant than the rumors. Boom! After the 10 people landed on the square, they exploded with powerful auras. There was a 10th grade ultimate desolate body and there was also an acquired divine fetus. The weakest cultivation realm was at the late stage of the martial god realm. Furthermore, each of them had the power of a god. Lin Ling, I know you did it on purpose. You pretended to not care and then challenged 10 people. That was because you wanted to win glory for the Snow Wind Academy. We can understand your painstaking efforts. However, we also have our own academies and we also want to win glory for our academies. Now that the 10 of us are fighting you, I'm afraid that even if the city lord of the 36 cities was here, he would not dare to slight us. So now, you should be regretting it. That's right. Don't think that because of the heavenly voice of the gods, we won't dare to touch you. Today, even if you are defeated, I believe that the gods will not blame us. The 10 people said in unison. They were gnashing their teeth. Clearly, they were furious. They would definitely not hold back. Looking at the appearance of the 10 of them, the various deans all laughed. The students of their academies also laughed. They were looking forward to it. Clearly, they did not believe that Lin Ling could defeat the 10 of them at the same time. I'll show you my talent. The man named Feng Yao even revealed his acquired godly fetus. It was a golden peng, and when it soared in the sky, its golden light illuminated the firmament, and its divine might was awe-inspiring. Wind Rock, the bloodline of the golden winged rock. Looking at the majestic great peng, one of the principals immediately nodded in satisfaction. Although this divine fetus was not Xiantian, it was still incomparably powerful and possessed extraordinary speed. It was said that Lin Ling seemed to have the speed of 5,000 worlds. However, Feng Yao had the speed of 7,000 worlds. With this speed alone, Feng Yao was unbeatable. Oh, very good talent. Lin Ling looked at Feng Yao curiously and nodded his head. It was undeniable that the experts hidden in the depths of the Shunsan Hall were indeed very powerful. If it was 1 year ago, Lin Ling would have to use at least 80% of his strength against Feng Yao. Are you scared? Let me tell you, Feng Yao possesses a speed that surpasses yours. You simply cannot catch up to him. Seeing Lin Ling nod his head, another expert sneered. Scared? Lin Ling could not help but shake his head. He was too lazy to explain anything. He glanced at the crowd and said, "What about you? Are you not going to show your trump cards? I'm afraid that if we show our trump cards, you'll be even more afraid." Hearing this, the others immediately sneered. Then show them quickly. If you don't use your full strength, I'll be too lazy to fight. Lin Ling stretched out his right hand and played with his fingernails. He said, "So, you'd better prepare yourselves first. After all, if you don't prepare anything and lose, you'll lose unjustly." Bullshit. You think you can do that? When the experts heard Lin Ling's words, their anger that had just subsided burned again. Boom. 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 They immediately displayed their talents, world origin, and divine power. Lin Ling is too arrogant. Everyone was dumbfounded because they thought that Lin Ling intended to defeat them one by one. Who knew that Lin Ling would ask them to prepare themselves first? Wasn't this courting death? Look, that's the heavenly ghost Buddha King. At this time, someone exclaimed. One of them unleashed his divine fetus body. Behind him, a sea of ghosts appeared. It was magnificent and filled with ghostly energy. Above the sea of ghosts, there was a Buddha's salvation. This was a double-talent body. One side was Buddha, and the other side was Ghost. Even Lin Ling looked at that person in surprise. Not bad, he was indeed very strong. In addition to the Golden Rock Divine Fetus, there were many experts. Then, I'll give you 3 breaths time to prepare. After 3 breaths, I'll attack. Just when everyone thought that Lin Ling would treat them seriously, Lin Ling spoke again. This is too fierce. Everyone was in an uproar again. Because not only did Lin Ling ask the 10 people to prepare, but he also told them in advance that he would attack in 3 breaths' time. This was not a battle, it was simply guidance. Lin Ling, don't humiliate us. The 10 people were furious again. Don't be angry. Maybe this is his scheme. But very soon, a dean shouted loudly, reminding everyone. Even he thought that Lin Ling was no match for the 10 people. Therefore, he thought for a long time and thought that Lin Ling must be playing some tricks. That's possible. Everyone, don't pay attention to him. Fight with all your strength. After defeating him, talk to him. The people on the martial arts platform were worthy of being experts. They calmed down quickly. 3. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling finally said a word. Then, he walked toward the 10 people. Moreover, he walked toward the center of the 10 people. Next, you're going to lose. Moreover, he didn't make a move, but he had already announced the result of these people. Everyone tensed up, thinking that Lin Ling would use some big move. However, no matter how they looked at it, Lin Ling didn't use any big move at all. He just walked toward the center of the 10 people. Yes, he was right in the center of the 10 people. And this angle was undoubtedly the best angle for the 10 people to attack. It was as if they were surrounding Lin Ling. For a moment, the 10 people were stunned. Could it be that Lin Ling was still playing some tricks? However, after staring for a long time, Lin Ling didn't do anything. He stopped in his tracks, put his hands behind his back, and then there was no more then. Deliberately mystifying, fight him. This time, the 10 people felt like they were being played. It seemed that the name Heavenly Voice of God made them too cautious. Lin Ling was just strong in appearance but weak in reality. Crazy. Of course, it wasn't just them. Even the various deans secretly cursed. This was because, in the middle of the 10 people's attacks, no city lord in the 36 main cities would be so confident. However, just as the 10 people attacked at the same time, Lin Ling, who was in the center, finally released his divine power. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, a ferocious ripple of power rushed out. Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 4075. Sorcery. It was the same feeling as when Lin Ling faced Sister Zhen. Any powerful force seemed to be sealed and suppressed. Bang! 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 In the center, Lin Ling took a step forward. When the strength of the 10 people was greatly reduced, he threw out a palm. His left hand flashed with yellow light and his right hand was dazzling with red light. It was the Bodhi testimony divine skill. Then, the 10 masters were all hit by the palm. Like kites with broken strings, they were all smashed outside the martial arts platform. Puff! Then, they all spat out a mouthful of blood, and their expressions changed greatly. They were just about to attack, but a gush of divine power rushed over and shocked them. Their attack, defense, and speed were all greatly reduced. Then, they were all defeated by Lin Ling's move. The martial arts platform was in a state of shock. They were all defeated in one move. 10 masters from the third hall of God? This must be a dream. What's going on? Even the deans of the major academies stood up subconsciously, and their expressions changed greatly. Is it the power of God? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. Maybe it's some unknown divine skill. It's too powerful. He shocked 10 people at once, and they were all not weak. What kind of martial skill could be so powerful? They were talking about it because they couldn't understand Lin Ling's means. After all, divine power was awakened by gods. Even if ordinary people had divine fetuses, it was very difficult for them to awaken it. Therefore, these deans didn't think about divine power. It was really rare for them to see such a means. Only Tsang Chiri and the old woman's pupils changed, and then they were horrified. Because only they knew that almost 90% of the masters on Lei Gong's side had this means, which was called divine power. The power of the ripples was able to shake out the advantage of the divine fetus in the form of ripples, impacting the opponent's talents and causing them to lose their power. This was the legendary power of the gods. Who would have thought that Lin Ling would awaken the power of the gods in the hands of the thunder god? The old woman was obviously very excited. Because she was the guardian and had watched Lin Ling grow up, even she felt an unparalleled sense of accomplishment. What kind of sorcery did you use? At this time, the 10 people on the ground stood up while holding their chests and shouted angrily. Because they had lost in such a dubious manner. Sorcery? Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled. If Lei Gong knew about this, Lei Gong would probably hack them to death. After all, the dignified god's might was actually called a demonic art. Should he say that they were ignorant or stupid? Lin Ling couldn't be bothered to explain. He said indifferently, with your IQ, no matter how much I tell you, you won't understand. The 10 men were so angry that they felt a sweet taste in their throats. Their originally injured bodies almost spat out another mouthful of blood. This was because not only had Lin Ling defeated them cleanly, he had even used a contemptuous tone to speak to them. You've lost. Stop making a fool of yourself. At this moment, a city lord finally spoke up. Regardless of whether Lin Ling had used demonic arts or something else, the truth was right before their eyes. Those 10 people had all lost. Now that they were blabbering on and on, wasn't this even more embarrassing? I'm so angry. Those 10 people obviously knew this point, but they were even more unwilling in their hearts because they had lost in such a dubious manner. Well, time is limited, so I won't go down. Which academy's expert will come next? On the martial stage, Lin Ling's voice once again floated out. Although it was calm, it also carried a domineering aura. Senior Lin Ling, you're so powerful. That attitude of looking down on all the heroes had undoubtedly caused the people of the Snow Wind Academy to start cheering. The 2 deans of Snow Wind Academy looked at each other and could see the excitement in each other's eyes. Their Snow Wind Academy had not been so glorious for a long time. One must know that because of Lin Ling, their Snow Wind Academy's name had already shaken the entire world. However, it was only fame. It was not enough to challenge the status of those old academies. But now, they had the ability to fight against the old academies. If 10 people can't do it, then 20 people. Anyway, it will only take one move. Lin Ling's voice floated out again. There were more than 90 remaining experts of the 3 halls. At this moment, their faces were gloomy and they wanted to go up and defeat Lin Ling. But soon, the voice of the dean also floated over, telling them not to act rashly. After all, the previous 10 people had been defeated too strangely, so if the experts sent out were too ordinary, it would only be more humiliating and would make Snow Wind Academy even more glorious. Therefore, if they really wanted to fight, they would have to send out experts with some ability. I'm really aggrieved. I just returned from the ancient forbidden forest of the 9 regions. I thought that my strength had greatly increased and I would be able to make my juniors admire me. But in the end, I met Lin Ling, this freak. An expert fiercely said. He only relies on that demonic technique. If he can break it, Lin Ling can still defeat him. However, a one-armed youth immediately opened his mouth and stared at Lin Ling with strong confidence. He had obviously investigated Lin Ling's strength. Second-level martial god realm. Possessing 4 types of divine power. Double divine embryo body. Moreover, his physical strength was not weak. This meant that if one had a late-stage martial god realm and also possessed the divine embryo body, plus more than 5 types of divine power, then they would have a chance to defeat Lin Ling. And among this group of people, there were a few who met this requirement. "I'll fight him." At this moment, a confident voice finally sounded, making everyone look over and find that the one who spoke was Duan Wuhan. Duan Wuhan wanted to fight Lin Ling from the beginning, but Lin Ling had defeated 10 people in one move. If Duan Wuhan was not confident, he would definitely not dare to open his mouth at this moment. Therefore, Duan Wuhan's decision let many people know that Duan Wuhan had the confidence to defeat Lin Ling. "Lin Ling, against me, you can't defeat me in one move." At the edge of the martial stage, Duan Wuhan looked up and said indifferently to Lin Ling. His voice also made Lin Ling look down at him, but Lin Ling did not speak. Duan Wuhan immediately jumped up and landed on the martial stage, standing hundreds of meters away from Lin Ling. Boom! In his body, the terrifying Duan family bloodline was stimulated, causing the Heaven Fate Wheel to appear behind him. This huge fate wheel was like a vortex, and its color was distinct. Each layer of the vortex had a mysterious melody, as if it had swallowed the lives of millions of people. The Duan family's Heaven Fate Wheel is said to be able to attack and defend, and is the most difficult to deal with. Something's wrong. How did Duan Wuhan's Heaven Fate Wheel become so huge? Did the Duan lineage martial god pass down his mantle to him? It seems that Duan Wuhan did hide his strength in the previous competition. At present, he has 5 types of divine power. All the deans stared at Duan Wuhan, and then they saw the power of the Heaven Fate Wheel. Are you surprised? I said before that in the Jade Scrolls assessment, I did not use my full strength. Moreover, I want to tell you that it's not only Lin Ling who has the opportunity. Chapter 4076. One move. The Heavenly Fate Wheel was said to be formed by the heavens of the 3,672 worlds, and then used the lives of the 3,672 worlds as the foundation. This meant that the Heavenly Fate Wheel was actually the sky of the 3,672 worlds, and in those worlds, Duan Wuhan was their god. Boom! Almost at the same time, the Heavenly Fate Wheel erupted with a roar, and a treasure light soared into the sky. The vortex that was originally condensed from 5 mysterious lights now had one more. 6 divine powers. In the seats around the martial arts platform, people subconsciously stood up, and their faces changed greatly. Because Duan Wuhan's strength had increased more than they had imagined. Even Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Apparently, he was also very surprised. He guessed that the opportunity that Duan Wuhan had obtained was definitely not simple. Lin Ling, you have a divine fetus, and I also have a divine fetus. And your previous demonic arts against my Heavenly Fate Wheel will not have much effect because you are fighting against the sky of the 3,672 worlds. As for your physical strength, sorry, my cultivation is higher than yours, so your physical strength is useless against me. And finally, the divine powers, I have surpassed you. Behind the fierce fate wheel, Duan Wuhan's long hair danced wildly as he said indifferently. It was as if he had been waiting for this day for many years. Your true inheritance, the Dark Sword, has 1 divine powers, and your Buddha-type power has 2 divine powers. So, you have 3 divine powers, right? Duan Wuhan sneered again, as if he had seen through Lin Ling. But Lin Ling shook his head and did not speak. Because he cultivated 6 dantians at the same time, his strength was mysterious and unpredictable. Even if he had burst out his strength in front of countless people, there were only a few people who could completely understand his strength. And Duan Wuhan obviously only knew the tip of the iceberg of Lin Ling. How could he be so confident just like that? I know that you don't dare to speak, but I won't force you. Because, it's time to settle the grudges between you and me. I, Duan Wuhan, will cripple your heavenly voice of God. I, Duan Wuhan, will tell you that in the struggle between you and me, you, Lin Ling, have been overtaken by me. You are no longer my opponent. Without waiting for Lin Ling to open his mouth, Duan Wuhan shouted in high spirits. Cripple heavenly voice of God. Everyone was also frightened by Duan Wuhan's tyrannical actions. Crippling Lin Ling was equivalent to offending a god. Moreover, people did not expect Duan Wuhan's ambition to be so huge that he actually set his goal to surpass Lin Ling. In fact, from the very beginning, there was no lack of experts from the 36 academies who wanted to surpass Lin Ling. But in the end, they all failed. On the contrary, many of the older generation of Shenzhen Hall masters were surpassed by Lin Ling. Over time, people came to know that Lin Ling was a rising star. He was the only one who could surpass others, and others would never have the chance to surpass him. But now, there was one person who still persevered. This person was Duan Wuhan. Seeing Duan Wuhan erupting with an imposing aura, Lin Ling's eyes finally looked at him seriously. Of course, this was not a look at the other's strength, but a look at the other's ambition. Surpass him, Lin Ling? In today's 9 regions, there was only one person who could be recognized by Lin Ling. Duan Wuhan was not qualified to call himself a genius in front of him, Lin Ling. You're done with your nonsense. Lin Ling said indifferently. Hearing this, Duan Wuhan's eyes flashed coldly as he shouted, "Come on, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. I will let you have 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will defeat you in 1 move." Lin Ling was stunned. Let him have 3 moves. Then he, Lin Ling, did not need to be polite. This time, Lin Ling did not urge his divine power. Instead, except for the divine power of the true inheritance, the dark sword, he urged all of his divine power. Human Sovereign's Flame, 4 divine powers. Thunder Lock Physique, 3 divine powers. Bodhi Array Divine Technique, 2 divine powers. He took a step and rushed towards Duan Wuhan. At this moment, the heaven's fate wheel behind Duan Wuhan was rolling, resisting the power of Lin Ling's impact. But when Lin Ling approached, Duan Wuhan found that he could not stop it at all. The heaven's fate wheel seemed to be about to collapse. And at this moment, the 2 palms came crashing down like mountains and seas. Rumble. The heaven's fate wheel that resisted Lin Ling's 9 divine powers collapsed in an instant and then exploded. Duan Wuhan's face changed greatly. He urged the 6 divine powers in an attempt to resist Lin Ling's palms. Rumble. When the 2 forces collided, the entire snow-blowing city immediately swayed wildly. The weak people were even more unstable and sat down on the ground with a plop. When he looked at the martial stage again, it instantly collapsed, and a terrifying divine power swept out. It was as if 2 gods were colliding, and the terrifying impact actually shattered the clouds in the sky into dust. While the power of the martial platform was still colliding, a figure finally seemed to be blown by a strong wind and shot to the ground at an oblique angle. The earth also shook in an instant. People also clearly saw that it was Duan Wuhan. After Duan Wuhan hit the ground, like a sandbag, he bounced 3 times in a row. Finally, he lay there motionless, constantly vomiting blood from the corner of his mouth. Looking at his hands again, at this moment, they were badly mutilated and completely destroyed. And looking at his appearance, even if he did not die, he would be crippled. The eyes of the audience were frozen there. The deans of the major academies were also stunned. The masters of the 3 divine halls who were about to fight trembled even more. Duan Wuhan was defeated. Even 5 strands of godly power were useless. No matter how much Duan Wuhan's strength had improved and how much divine power he had, in the face of Lin Ling, he was not his opponent at all. Ironically, he actually intended to let Lin Ling make 3 moves. The air was inexplicably strange. The whole city was terrifyingly quiet. Although people were very afraid of Lin Ling, they were even more afraid of Lin Ling's identity. People knew that Lin Ling's strength was very powerful, but at least, Lin Ling was not invincible. Not to mention others, the deans present were stronger than him. However, now they found that this seemed to be an illusion. Lin Ling did not seem to have broken out his full strength in the Meet the Gods battle a year ago. Now, this was his full strength. It's really just one move. In the silence, someone let out a horrified voice. The words scared the masters of the 3 divine halls. Now, they were not so confident. All eyes fell on the martial arts platform, staring at the handsome young man. Heavenly voice of God, Lin Ling. They finally knew that he was not to be trifled with. Everything was as the city lords had imagined. Lin Ling returned this time to oppress people. Those who did not submit, would be oppressed until they submitted. Duan Wuhan, of all the geniuses I have seen in my life, only one person is qualified to be compared with me. You are far from it. At this time, Lin Ling's indifferent voice floated out. He had defeated Duan Wuhan several times, but he had not been ruthless, so this time, he would not be merciful. The divine power from before was probably enough to cripple Duan Wuhan. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.